Most of the talk back in Washington centering around the Jay Schrader, Doug Williams situation. Schrader starting today. Will it put more pressure on him to perform well early, Joe?
Absolutely, Tim. Jay Schrader told us last night he's not bothered by the fact that he feels like he can't throw a bad pass, that if things don't go well early, it's not concerning him. I don't believe that. I think he's got to look over his shoulder if he doesn't perform well. On the other side, the guy who's really got a hot hand is Neil Lomax. As we mentioned, 30 points a game over the last 4 weeks his team has averaged. His big difference is confidence. He knows where his receivers are, he knows who his receivers are, and he's playing with that conviction.
Well, the weather here, as we said, dreary. It's 37 degrees, much cooler than yesterday, and no sun at all. Indeed, we expect rain before this day is finished. It rained early this morning in St. Louis. It has stopped, and the lights are on under very overcast skies. Cardinals will receive to our right, Sikahema from his 12-yard line. Gets to the 25, dropped there immediately, and the first man to hit him, Reggie Branch, one of the top players on the Redskins special team. Red-hot Neil Lomax, the number 2 rated quarterback in the NFC, will face this Washington defense, most of them veterans. Mann, Butts, Darrell Grant, Dexter Manley, 3 sacks last week. Kaufman, Olkowitz in the middle for the injured Rich Millot. And the secondary, a solid one, with Alvin Walton having a 15-tackle day against the Giants a week ago. First down, Cardinals. Immediate shifting from Gene Stallings' offense. Stump Mitchell. About 4 yards on the play for Mitchell. Mel Kaufman made the stop. The Cardinals are hurting offensively. Earl Farrell, injured a week ago with a knee, is gone for the season. So Ron Wolfley has taken over at fullback. Smith, Green, and Awalt, the rookie tight end, providing great receiving business for the quarterback Lomax. Sharp, rookie Todd Pete, Kennard, Smith, and Robbins across the front. 2nd and 7. Cardinals at their own 27-yard line. Lomax just gets it away to the tight end Awalt, and he is close to the first down. The charge led by Dave Butts of the Redskins, and as we pointed out, Lomax just got the pass off, Joe.
That's one of the big differences in Neil Lomax this year. Last year he said he wasn't as comfortable with the system. He wasn't sure where everyone would be. Therefore, he took a few more sacks. He was almost in the grasp, but managed to find the tight end and get the ball off.
So it is a first down, St. Louis, and they are now at their 37. Mitchell on the pitch. He's got running room. Driven out at the 27-yard line by Monty Coleman.
Historically, Stump Mitchell has been the man with his behind the glasses, behind his shield. He's been the man that's been a problem for the Redskins. Now you're going to see to the left of your screen, Charles Mann is going to come up the field. That's what they want to take advantage. The pass rush. See Charles Mann come up the field. Tootie Robbins just turn him out. That's where the Cardinals will try and run this afternoon, inside of Dexter Manley and Charles Mann.
35-yard pickup for Stump Mitchell, who is playing hurt in this game. And he gets a rest now. Derek McAdoo in the backfield. Wolfley. Walton made the stop. The strong safety, number 40. Wolfley picked up about 3 yards. Ron Wolfley from West Virginia in his 3rd year, a terror on special teams. And here, talking about terrors, Alvin Walton, we mentioned, had 15 tackles last week against the Giants. He was everywhere.
Well, he's fitting into that mold of the great strong safeties of the Washington Redskins, the Kenny Houston type of football player that really loves to hit people.
Rich Millot has come into the lineup. Did not start, but was expected to see action. He's in there now. Mitchell tripped up on a dandy tackle by Walton. Got inside the 20-yard line, depending on the spot. Looks like they'll mark it back outside the 20, however, where he hit the ground.
There you see Walton right in the middle of your screen. Now, he's just going to key the flip of the ball. He sets up to the tight end side. Now, as soon as the ball is moved, he's just coming outside, got to turn everything back in, evades the block of Wolfley, and just does trip up Stump Mitchell.
47 tackles on the season for this young man from Kansas, the number 3 pick a year ago. motion. Lomax for Green. Interception. Out of the end zone. Darrell Green caught the ball. The officials say he was out of the end zone. So the Cardinals get a break.
Well, they do. Lomax puts this one up. He thinks J.T. Smith. Now, the problem is there's an end zone there. He couldn't lead him. So he had to underthrow it a little bit to Roy Green. Now, there you see Darrell Green. 1 foot is in. Couldn't quite see the other one. But I don't believe he had possession of the ball. It looked like he was fumbling it as he was going out of bounds. So it's a good call by the official. It's not going to be reviewed. So we'll just move right on without a delay.
Here. Jim Gallery will attempt a field goal from the 31-yard line. It'll be officially a 40-yard attempt as they are spotting it just inside the 31.
And just as I speak, the officials are going to review it.
Well, our referee on the field is Tom Dooley. In the replay booth, it is Dixon Holman.
There they are looking at it, the replay booth.
Well, as you described the replay, you felt it was inconclusive.
Well, two things. Number one, it looked like Darrell Green was bobbling the ball as he was headed for the ground. And secondly, his right foot, which would have been the one that he would have had to get in to make it a legal catch.
Play stands as Joe Theismann saw it.
Well, it was a bit of an inconclusive shot.
Well, yeah, actually, the ball hit Green's fingers first, I believe. So I think you're right in that Green did not really have full possession. He fell out of bounds in that circumstance. So Gallery will attempt a 40-yard field goal, one of a lineup of field goal kickers in recent years here in St. Louis.
That's got to be a record for a decision on an instant replay, too, in time spent.
Gallery wide to the left. So the Cardinals, who moved smartly downfield in their opening offensive series, come up with the same old bugaboo. He is now 8 of 17 on the season in the field goal department. We'll be right back.
On your right, Gene Stallings. On your left, Jim Gallagher. And I was on the field during warm-ups, and I walked up to Coach Stallings, and I said, "How you doing, Gene? What do you look at out here?" He says, "I watch my kickers." He said, "Oh, by the way, if I die young, it's going to be because of my kickers."
Well, I can understand that because the Cardinals, since 1985, have been through a whole lineup of kickers, and none of them have been able to keep the job. They drafted John Wall for distance, but he's been mainly kicking it sideways. First down, Redskins following the missed field goal try. George Rogers is stuffed for a loss. Nico Noga, the linebacker in the middle, number 57, dropped George Rogers for a loss of maybe 2. Well, the St. Louis defensive line with 2 rookies on the right side, Alvord and Sadler. Linebackers have Noka in the middle with Junior and Anthony Bell. And a young secondary, Carter, a second-year man on one corner, Holloway, a rookie on the other. They mark it a 1-yard loss, 2nd and 11, Redskins. Schrader pressured and just throws it away in the direction of Art Monk. It'll be 3rd and 11. Offensively for the Redskins, Schrader's return to quarterback, Rogers, who Joe Gibbs says he hopes to carry the ball 25 to 30 times today. Monk, Clark, Warren, and Didier, outstanding receiving core. Jacoby, McKenzie, Bostic, R.C. Thielman, and May, a veteran offensive line, although Russ Grimm out with an injury. Bostic starting at center.
There you see the conversions for the Redskins and the league lead. Actually, this is a down that Joe Gibbs likes to get into, 3rd downs. He feels his team is very good at converting them.
Keith Griffin is the receiver in the backfield. Good time for Schrader. Incomplete. Intended for Monk. Overthrown. So the Cardinals defensively have stifled the Redskins' first offensive try.
And in talking to Gene Stallings, there's Joe Gibbs. He's got to solve the problem of how to run the football. Gene Stallings told us Friday, he said, what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and confuse Jay Schrader. I'm going to have 4 defensive linemen in, 3 defensive linemen in, 6 defensive backs, 3 linebackers. He's not going to know who's on the field. And it looked like it worked the first series.
Cox, the punter, for the Redskins at his 10-yard line. And Sikahema backs up to the 30 of St. Louis. Flag is down on the play as Sikahema driven back to the 25-yard line by Kurt Gouveia, number 54, a 49-yard punt for Cox.
Well, as a quarterback, you just can't appreciate a good punter anymore. I mean, a lot of guys don't talk about the punting game or the punter, but he's got to be the quarterback's best friend. I mean, they get you out of so many jams. Jeff Hayes was one. Mike Bragg was another one that I played with in Washington. They can get you out of so many holes.
Well, Lonnie Young was charged with the illegal use of hands on the return. Giants are on top of Philadelphia early. So the ball is taken back to the 20-yard line. The 19 will make it. And Neil Lomax and company will start from there. A scoreless football game. Mitchell, hard running by Stump out to the 23-yard line. And we mentioned at the outset that the loss of Earl Farrell, a big one for the Cardinals offensively, because not only does Farrell run the ball well, he was the leading rusher with 512 yards, but he's an outstanding pass receiver out of the backfield. So having to put young Ron Wolfley in there and then put the load on Mitchell to carry the ball really does change their ground game considerably.
Yeah.
2nd and 7. Much shifting on the early downs here for the Cardinals. Short drop by Lomax. And it is tipped and almost intercepted, but incomplete. Olkowicz got a hand on that ball.
That was just pure luck. You know, Neil Lomax, when you're playing well, the ball bounces to the ground, not into somebody's hands. You'll see him look to the right of his screen. He wants to hit the wide receiver on a quick post, Roy Green. Now, you see Mitchell come out of the backfield. He's his outlet. He tries to throw it, but Stump decides to take off and move out of the way instead of staying where he was. Olkowicz knocks it up in the air, and it falls, fortunately, to the ground for the Cardinals.
Olkowicz and Malott have so far shared the duty at middle linebacker for the Redskins. 3rd down and 7. Lomax complete to Green, and a 1st down St. Louis at their 32-yard line.
The man, Louis Sharp, Dexter Manley, this is going to be the matchup all day. You see him with the long count. Dexter starts a little bit. Louis takes him on. Talking to Dexter about Louis Sharp, he says, you know, he's like a defensive back. Not too many defensive backs will put you down like that. But he's got a lot of finesse, a lot of quickness. You see the good protection for Lomax, and that's what he's had all year. He feels very confident in the pocket, being able to pick out the receivers.
So the Cardinals with a 1st down and throwing on it, deep sideline. Almost picked off. A flag downfield. Darrell Green knocked it away from Roy Green. And green on green should be a familiar sight all afternoon here. Offensive interference signal against the Cardinals, the preliminary signal. That's Robert Awalt, number 80, the rookie tight end from San Diego State, charged with offensive interference. He's been on a tear with 31 catches.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns. And, you know, the tight end position has almost become, there you see his numbers, the tight end position has almost become a forgotten receiving position in the National Football League. Now, the Cardinals have brought it back. He's got 4 touchdowns with 31 receptions, which means it's a big part of the offense for the Cardinals.
And today they have Jay Novacek back in the lineup off an injury, who was off to a good start before Awalt replaced him when he got hurt. 1st down and 20, draw play, Mitchell. Good coverage by the Redskins, nowhere to go. Darrell Grant led the charge, number 77. Pickup of maybe 2 for the Cardinals.
Again, the Cardinals taking advantage of the pass rush of Dexter Manley. He comes hard upfield, and they're going to run right in alongside him. Of course, when it's 1st down and 20, and you only pick up 2 yards, that doesn't get you much.
Mitchell with that Darth Vader look. And I think a great idea. You see a few more players each year wearing those
I think quarterbacks
eye protection.
I think, you know, everybody talks about the defensive backs reading the quarterback's eyes. If you had that on, who could read your eyes?
Good point. 2nd and 18. Sack in the grasp of Monty Coleman. Lomax, before he could even get his arm up.
Here comes Monty Coleman, lower right part of your screen. There's nobody there to block him. Visekahema turns out he's in the pass route. Lomax should get rid of the ball, but he just doesn't have time. Now you see Monty sets him down gently. Talk to Richie Pettibone, the defensive coordinator and coach of the Redskins. He said, what we have to do with Lomax is we have to get to him early. If we can shake him a little bit, we can take some of the steam and fire out of him. That's what we want to do.
Loss of 9 on that sack, and the ball now back at the 14-yard line. Third down. 28 needed for the first.
This is where you call the coach and say, what do you want?
Redskins show blitz, and they come with it. Diving grab by J.T. Smith. Well short of the first down, but he got him back out to the 28-yard line.
That accomplishes two things. It gives your punter a better field position, and you also get a completion. Now, this is the type of pressure Dexter Manley has been putting on to all the quarterbacks. This time he takes Louis outside and just power rushes him. Not finesse, just pure power. And like a big bull, he bowls him over and gets into Neal. That gives you an idea of everybody talks about the speed of Dexter Manley, but that's an indication of the power he possesses.
Well, and he told us that that's what he hoped to do. He said, I know he's going to pull back early.
Hey, Louis 6'4", 260. That's no, not walking across the street.
So the Cardinals will punt. Greg Horn from the 15-yard line. A new Cardinal punter. They cut Greg Cater week before last. Eric Yarber's got some room on the sideline. Tripped up at the 38-yard line after an excellent return. So an unhappy Gene Stallings sees the Redskins in Cardinal territory when we return. Joe, just a 33-yard punt by Horn and a good return by Yarber.
Yarber's going to pick up some blocking. You see, the Redskins set up the wall is to the left, obvious. He does a good job. Now, you got to count on the return man to make somebody miss. He makes one miss. He missed Baker, missed there. Now, he keeps his balance. Now he's going to cut back in and just does get tripped up. He's added an awful lot to the return aspect of the Redskins special teams, which has really come under a lot of fire.
A low draft pick last year out of Idaho, their 11th choice. But a handy man, good punt returner, good for 14 yards there. First down, Redskins at the Cardinal 38. Rodgers, not much, a couple to the 35-yard line.
I'll guarantee you that is not what Joe Gibbs wants to see from his rushing offense, which is the running offense. George Rodgers wants to carry the ball 25 or 30 times. First carry in the first series, loss of a yard. Now he picks up 2. They're going to have to get more from their running game, or else they're going to have to abandon it like they have the previous weeks.
Well, which Gibbs doesn't want to do. He said he handed the ball to Rodgers today. He needs his leadership, and they've got to get the run game back. Pickup of 2, second and 8. Rodgers again trying the right side, loose ball, recovered by St. Louis. Stripped from behind. The rookie, number 72, stripped the ball.
The one thing Coach Gibbs talked about George Rodgers, he said this year he has not put the ball on the ground. Now you'll see him coming right at the left part of your screen. He comes down, and now he just gets hit from behind. That's all it is. They just knock the ball away from him. It's a good tackle by Rod Sadler. Ball goes on the ground.
Gregory Johnson recovered, and Rodgers had not fumbled in 199 consecutive carries. That was a rap on him early in his career. He always felt it was a bad rap, and he has proven it with the numbers until this moment. First down, Cardinals. Mitchell. Monty Coleman wraps him up after a gain of about 2. Atlanta whipping up on Dallas, in Atlanta humiliated by the Cardinals last week with 15,000 lonely fans looking on down in Atlanta.
You know, the Cowboys will be playing Washington next week. Could be that they're, figuring Atlanta got beat so badly last week, and it happens to athletes. You get a mental letdown. You don't get prepared, and you start to look ahead, and it could well be what's going on there.
Second down, a long 7. Good protection, Lomax, and it's incomplete. Intended for J.T. Smith. And Barry Wilburn had the coverage on him. Smith looked like he slipped a little bit on what should be a somewhat slippery field. What was it like down there, Joe? You were out during the warm-up.
With the AstroTurf shoes they have, the field is very good. It's just damp. It's not raining, so it's not a problem. I don't believe that ball was being thrown to J.T. Smith.
Well, Awalt was running
and
on that
was
line.
open. It looks like Lomax either he threw it behind Awalt, and a good alert play by J.T. Smith to come in and try and make a catch to keep it away from Wilburn.
Marcus Cook and Steve Hamilton have come into the Redskin pass rush on 3rd down. Lomax complete. Roy Green has the Cardinal 1st down. A diving tackle by Darrell Green. And a saving one because there was a lot of real estate ahead of him.
Well, that's Todd Bowles right in the middle. Now he's going to wind up chasing Roy Green all the way across the field. You see, they come with the blitz. Now he gets out there. Now Darrell Green tries to make the play. He does. He just does get a foot on him. And Roy Green trips himself up, and you see Bowles moving over to help out. That's been the way the Redskins have played. They're going to put Roy Green or Darrell Green on Roy Green. They match up man-to-man.
Lomax 4 of 7. Incomplete, out of the hands of Roy Green. The ball was there. He didn't squeeze it. 2nd and 10. Roy Green been bothered with hamstring problems again this season. He's missed 18 quarters of football, but he is still a dangerous receiver at all times. 30 years of age. 2nd and 10.
Lomax looks like an entirely different quarterback than I saw him. So he did 6 Cardinal games last year. He looked tentative and hesitant. He looks like he's throwing with a lot of confidence and really knows what he wants to do with the football.
Sacks. Got the ball off. Well, they call it a sack. It was Dave Butts who had him. Let's see where they mark this.
They're going to call him back in the
Yes,
grasp.
they are. In the grasp of the big guy, Dave Butts. 37-year-old Purdue grad.
There you see Dexter Manley not putting much of a rush. Now, Dave Butts is another power guy. He's got him by the waist. He's in the grasp. Lomax just flicks us here, over the shoulder. You can have it, Ron. Get it away from me. Big Dave. 14 years, 37 years old. Looks in as good a shape as he's ever been.
Isn't that amazing? 300 pounds, 6'7".
It's amazing trying to walk through a door with him. You can't.
3rd down. 15 required for the first here. And he is sacked again. The blitz brought in Mel Kaufman, the linebacker, and Charles Mann, the defensive end, combined on the sack, and so the Cardinals stopped again.
Well, it's that pressure that we talked about earlier. That's what Richie Pettibone wants to do. He wants to try and make Neil Lomax hurry things. He doesn't want him to sit in the pocket and get comfortable. All of this, you have to look back to the drop pass by Roy Green earlier in this drive. He makes the big reception. The next play out, they would have had another 1st down. Instead, momentum turned against the Cardinals.
Greg Horn hits from the 20-yard line. That's a good punt. Yarber from his 25. Flag on the play as Yarber with a dandy return to midfield. The flag was upfield of the return. Don Holmes made the tackle, a 44-yard punt.
Yarber on return. Number 83, Don Holmes. Penalty flag down.
And the signal is against the Redskins. We might add that the referee's microphone, which you'll be hearing hopefully shortly, is not what we expect it to be normally.
I'll translate. Holding 32 on the receiving team. 1st and 10, post-possession foul.
Pretty good. You could work the summit this week. We'll be right back. Contributed much to their offense.
And it's sort of been the pattern for the Redskins this year. They have not started well.
Forward by George Rogers. Play action. Lots of time for Schrader. Deep for Clark. He's got it. Touchdown. Gary Clark got one-on-one with the rookie Johnny Holloway. 84 yards for the score.
This is a great piece of play-action fake. Now, you're not going to see the faking. Right at the lower part of your screen, Lonnie Young gets caught up in the play-action fake. And Johnny Holloway thinks he has help in the middle. Now, he can't catch Gary Clark. Very few people can. It's a perfectly thrown ball by Jay Schrader. And in talking to Jay, he has had trouble throwing the deep ball. He said, the problems I've had are because I have been trying to aim the ball and make it easier for the receivers. He said, I'm just going to go back and put the thing out there like I used to. And there's the indication. You saw how happy he was. He should be.
Yeah, they get paid to catch it after all, which is
right.
a fair comment from a quarterback. Ali Haji Sheikh has the point after, and the Washington Redskins have a 7-0 lead.
Into the line. Now, at the top of your screen, you see Lonnie Young, number 43. He fights. It's a good fake by George Rogers. That puts Gary Clark one-on-one with Johnny Holloway, and he's expecting to have help in the middle. That's what a cornerback needs, is they need a help when you're in zone. He didn't get it.
Sikahema to the 22-yard line on the kickoff return. And the Cardinals will try again from there. They're trailing 7-0. Schrader to Clark, an 84-yard score, the longest touchdown pass of the season for Schrader, and the longest receiving touchdown for Gary Clark.
You know, if you look at this, look at the first half for Neil Lomax last week against Atlanta. 16 for 25, 279 yards. And Jay Schrader in the second half, much of that coming in the last 17 minutes, 17 for 25, 217. That's a Schromax quarterback.
Absolutely. J. Neil Schromax had himself quite a day. Put those two halves together. First down, Cardinals. Whoops. Well, intended for J.T. Smith, but that looked a little ugly. What happened on that one, do you think?
Well, what happens is there were 4 Redskins right around J.T. Smith. Oddly enough, whether it was lucky that he threw it away or that he intentionally threw it away, it turned out to be a very good decision.
2nd and 10, Cardinals. Neil Lomax passing at 60% on the season, 2nd in the conference.
It's
Last week, he finished 25 for 42. He showed his first half stats, and he had quite a day overall, 369 yards.
And it's really important that he doesn't get down on himself or get shaken. This is a very big football game because Neil Lomax has brought his team back from behind, as has Jay Schrader. And now is when you start to test it. The other teams hit a big play. Okay, you have to get out and get something started for your ball club. Give them something positive, even if it's a couple first downs, just to get back and get feeling good.
Well, he's got a 3rd and 7 now after the gain by Mitchell of 3. Charles Mann on the stop for the Redskins. They're at the 25, the shotgun. Flags and whistles.
That time the left guard, Todd Pete, decided to try and get into pass protection too quick. What he simply told you was that number 64, Todd Pete, started too quickly and drew the defense offside.
Todd Pete, a 295-pound rookie from Northern Illinois. Their 15th pick this year, but starting ahead of the veteran Joe Bostic on the rundowns, and they bring in Bostic when they're passing.
Everybody's become a specialist nowadays.
Although he's in there now, we note, to pass block on this one. Deep sideline for Troy Johnson. He's got it. First down and Washington territory at the 45.
To the right of your screen, Barry Wilborn is on Troy Johnson. Now, what's so interesting about that, talk to Barry Wilborn. He's up in man-to-man bump and run coverage. He says, I look at 2 things. I look at the receiver's body, and I listen to the crowd to know when the ball's in the air. Well, there's hardly enough people in here to listen to the crowd. And he evidently lost his body because it was an excellent throw.
But it is wiped out. Illegal procedure, I believe he said Tootie Robbins, number 63.
Was not on the line of scrimmage, which meant they had too many backs in the backfield, and Tootie's a little big to be a back, to be perfectly honest with you.
Well, there's that Texas scowl from Gene Stallings. A fine play wiped out.
Jim Schaffner, the offensive coordinator, with the glasses on and the not so dark hair.
Houston ahead of San Diego. Those Chargers have been slumping. Third down here for the Cardinals. And they're back at their 15. Lomax from a hole again. Steps up well, and it is caught and then dropped, picked up by the Redskins. Washington ball. That is Brian Davis, activated this week. The #1 pick out of Nebraska, as J.T. Smith dropped the ball after he made the catch on a hit from Monty Coleman.
Well, again, there we saw the Cardinals trying to be able to pick up just enough yardage. There's J.T. Smith coming out. Dennis Woodbury on him. He cuts inside, slides back out, makes the reception, starts to put it away, and boom, he gets nailed by Monty Coleman. As you mentioned, Brian Davis to make the recovery. They're going to go to review. They don't need to review this. This, you know, folks, come on. I mean, the man caught the ball. He took a step. He turned and tried to go. Don't get carried away with it. Don't take a good thing and make it too much.
I wish you wouldn't be so vague about your feelings on this.
Jiminy Cricket.
I am 4 square behind you, too, pal.
I mean, there, he's got the ball. He's not bobbling it. He's tucked it away. What are they looking at?
Starting to run. He was trying to run upfield.
To me, this type of a decision by the instant replay to look at it takes away the effectiveness of a job an official has to do.
Well, it doesn't help Washington either at the 15 or the 12-yard line. They'd like to come out usually after an interception and make a quick play and, you know, go for the end zone. Instead, everybody's standing around.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm sorry. I just, you know, there comes a point where you just have to let these men, you know, they give them striped shirts. They ought to, you know what they ought to do? They ought to make the people in the booth wear striped shirts if they're going to do that. What the heck? Give them a new uniform.
First down. Redskins at the 12. Rodgers to the 5-yard line. George Rodgers really wrapped that ball up after he had fumbled on the last sequence and got himself a good hole and picked up the pace inside the 5.
You betcha. You'll see coming right to the lower right part of your screen, Donnie Warren in blocking, Mark May on the right side, R.C. Thielemann coming through. Now watch George wrap up. 2 hands on the ball, George. You betcha. I'm not putting that one on the ground, he says. You saw an indication of time of possession. That's one of the things coaches talk about. You know, if we have the ball more, we can be ahead. Doesn't work in this case.
Washington does awfully well when they get this close. Good defensive play. That was Leonard Smith, the strong safety, bulldogging Rodgers down after a gain of maybe a yard.
That time Leonard comes all the way around the horn. Starts from the right side, makes the play at the line of scrimmage. But, you know, George is deceptively big. George Rodgers is not a small back. He's a big guy, and he carries people with him.
Defensive substitutions for the Cardinals, a little bit late. David Galloway, number 65, comes onto the front. He's just been activated from injured reserve. Redskins need to get to the 2 for a first down. Schrader, and it is incomplete. Noga had an interception right at the goal line, could not hold on.
Oh, he gunned that one right to Nika Noga, trying to get the ball to Art Monk. Interesting philosophy. Inside the 20-yard line, most teams go to man-to-man. You see Noga, he's not in man-to-man. He goes back into coverage, and they're doubling Art Monk. He's allowed to hit him 5 yards down the field. Now Monk slides out, and Noga hits it right in his hands. Oh, my God. And Lonnie Young came out, and you see him grab his hits, and they knocked it away from him.
So the Redskins will have the field goal try. Ali Haji Sheikh from the 22. A 22-yard field goal, pardon me, from the 12. Schrader will hold. Former Giant. Now to the chip shot from here. And he's got it. So the Cardinal miscue. Fumble by J.T. Smith, setting up a field goal, and An opportunity for Noga there to even have prevented that, although, gosh, he made a real good play, as you can see on the replay, driving Monk off the pattern and getting himself in position to make the grab. He just couldn't hold on, and it looked like, as you pointed out, Lonnie Young may have contributed to the miss.
Pushed it away from him. It's interesting. The Cardinals last year were basically a 3-4 team. 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. They've now switched to the defense that Gene Stallings feels most comfortable with. That's 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers as a start. Nika Noga is the middle linebacker. Plays a lot like Neil Olkowitz for the Redskins. Small, blocky, tough guy. Plays on the third downs a little bit more than Okie does. But he's the kind of a man who, just in that area, is very good because there's not a lot of room for the receivers to work. So he can bang them around and get himself in position. Credit to the Cardinal defense, though, stopping the Redskins from getting a touchdown, having to settle for a field goal.
Sheik will kick it off for the Redskins. Tremendous return to the 50-yard line. The man from Tonga in British Brigham Young. Some would call it, I'm going to call it British Young University. Good job.
Here he comes. He's just taking this one up the pipe. You see a little cross blocking? Dean Hamill just does get pushed out of position. Ali Haji Sheikh, he's not going to hit anybody. Doing it what every good kicker does is just try and sort of get in the way. And that's why Darrell Green is on the kick return team, because he's one of the fastest men in football and can run people down.
So the Cardinals from midfield. Time winding down in the first quarter. They're trailing by 10. Flag down. Mitchell. Good piece of running by Stump Mitchell to the 35 of Washington. And the penalty may be against the Cardinals. Todd Bowles on the tackle. No, it's against Washington. 13-yard gain by Mitchell will stand.
That's offsides on Dexter Manley. He was lined up, you know, gets that butt of his up in the air and that back foot in a sprinter stance, and he wants to try and get to Neil Lomax. That time he didn't quite. He wants to get as close to the ball as he can. That time he was a little too close.
Now St. Louis with a first down at the Washington 35-yard line. Wolfley drags a tackler for about 3. Neil Olkowitz getting the free ride. And we have reached the end of the first quarter here at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The Cardinals are driving, but they are trailing. Second job, which he does have during the week, but he's really in the booth with me here up at Busch Stadium. Cardinal mascot has got a little work to do down there because they're trailing 10-0 here early in this football game. We've just begun the second period, and the Washington Redskins with a 10-0 lead. How about that?
Isn't that nice? Little marriage
Meet
proposal.
me in St. Louis, Louis.
That's it.
Second down and 7. We'll try and get an answer to that later. Here's Stump Mitchell. Mitchell to the 20-yard line, had 62 yards in the first quarter, and he has a St. Louis first down. Now here's a guy they thought might not be able to go today, Joe, because he's banged up in various ways, but he picks up 12 and now has 73 yards on the day. You know what's got to hurt Gene Stallings is the fact that they had the ball for 11 minutes in the first period, but they're down 10-10.
And that's one of the things coaches always talk about is time of possession. Let's keep the ball away from the other team. In this case, it didn't work out for the Redskins or the Cardinals. Now, Stump Mitchell has been a guy who has really traditionally, in every game the Cardinals and Redskins have played, hurt the Redskins to a large degree, whether it's running the ball or catching or on special teams.
Short drop by Lomax, and he's got the tight end Ewald and the rookie inside the 10 to the 8. First down and goal, St. Louis.
That's just a fine job by Neil Lomax. He sits in the pocket, coming right at you. There you see it. He takes a snap from center. Ewald just goes upfield away from Mel Kaufman, dumps it out into the flat. turns it upfield. Boy, he's something. He's a good-looking tight end. 32nd
6'5", yeah,
reception.
250-pounder.
33rd reception. Look at that. J.T. Smith with 35 receptions the last 5 games. Awalt 31.
Mitchell, big hole up the middle, gets to the 3-yard line before it closes. Alvin Walton, the strong safety.
Cardinals have been very effective inside the 20-yard line. Not only have they scored just in general, but you see they've got 9 touchdowns and 4 field goals. 13 of the last 14 times they've been in. That's why they've been able to average 30 points a game over the last 4 weeks.
Well, like the Redskins, they've been awfully tough in that so-called red zone. They come away with more touchdowns and field goals. 2nd and goal.
I bet you're curious why they call that the red area.
Well, I know you're going to tell me.
No, I'm curious too.
You'd think it'd be the green area, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
I would think so.
Green light. Mitchell. Hit at the line of scrimmage. Struggles for about 2. Dexter Manley put the pop on him.
Monty Coleman with the first hit to hit him a little bit in the backfield.
Stump Mitchell, and the Cardinal people said, well, you may see Derek McAdoo. We don't know whether Stump's going to be able to play very much. And here he's got close to 80 yards. And we're just underway in the 2nd quarter.
Stumps, in football, they have different terminology for people. He is a gamer. No matter how hurt he is, no matter how banged up he is, when Sunday rolls around or when the team has to play, you can look for number 30 to be in the backfield.
Lomax rolling. Wide open is Mitchell. Oh, touchdown. Oh, I want to tell you, William Harris.
Almost deflected it.
William Harris, the rookie tight end, nearly botched up that play because he thought the ball was coming to him. I wonder if Mitchell hollered, it's mine.
If he did, he probably couldn't get it through that shield he's got on, so it wouldn't matter.
Watch this.
The Redskins defense this perfectly. They're well prepared. They know he wants to go to Awalt in the middle, or he wants to try and hit Novacek out to the right, but they forgot about Stump Mitchell. Look at that. Almost just off his fingers. Great concentration by Stump, and just
sure
barely does get in the end zone.
Hey, it's tough enough having a defender trying to bat the ball away from you.
Gene Stallings has got to be standing on the sidelines going, come on, guys.
Gallery with a point after. It is good, and St. Louis has scored their first touchdown of the day, and Stump Mitchell, the man who did most of the work, comes up with a score.
The stars are gonna twinkle and shine. How they...
You got tickets for your family, I see.
Yeah, right. Got some good seats, too, though. You notice this?
I think, you know, now that's not the regular home team Hogettes. That's got to be the away team. So that's a visiting.
Yeah, right, the
Hogettes.
visiting Hogettes.
Right.
Well, they're cute.
Oh, they're ugly. They are not cute.
10-7 football game. Gallery's kickoff to the 15 taken by Griffin. And Griffin gets over the 30. A flag flies at the 32-yard line. Short kickoff from Gallery. And the penalty, however, is against the Washington Redskins on the return. There's Gene Stallings talking to Gallery.
And that penalty was on Joe
Caravello.
Caravello,
Right.
Mr. Two-Way.
Doubleheader action on CBS next week. Our first game, Dallas and Washington. Minnesota, Green Bay, some of you will see that. They're both obviously very important games. 12:30 Eastern time it all begins. Doubleheader action we'll remind you about in a moment. First down. Redskins from their 15. Rodgers gets about 3 yards near the 20. And for an NFL update, let's take you now to Brent Musburger in New York.
Well, Tim, Joe Montana had completed 20 straight passes. That tied the record. Then he ran the quarterback draw for a touchdown. They missed the extra point. It's 13-0. 20 straight completions over 2 games for Montana. Back to Tim.
Wow. Remember a day like that, Joe? Did you ever have a 20 for 20?
No, I never. I think the most I ever had was 13 or something like that. And I thought that was pretty good.
Joe Montana, well, at least he's another Gomer. Notre Dame. Brad doing that today. Second down and 7. Schrader under pressure, and he is dropped at the 15-yard line. First sack of the day by the Cardinals. And it'll leave third and about 11 for Washington.
And you got to give a lot of credit to the Cardinals secondary. They really gave Jay Schrader no place to go with the football. He did the wise thing. He's backed up in his own end. He doesn't want to put the ball up for grabs, tries to run around, and winds up taking a sack. But it's not as bad as it seems. It's only third and 11.
Nico Noga, the man to get it. He was watching Hawaii playing yesterday. His younger brother, Al Noga, who most people project as a first-round pick, star with the University of Hawaii. Third and 11. Raider going deep, and it is broken up by Lonnie Young, intended for Art Monk. And a good recovery by Young because Monk was behind him, but Young reacted to the ball.
Now, you can't blame Jay Schrader for that one. A lot of times people say, Jay has not been throwing the ball well. He overthrows him, he underthrows him. There you see Monk go by Lonnie Young. Now, you got to give credit to the defensive line. The reason this ball is underthrown is just as Jay tries to let it go, he gets hit by Bob Glaspie, and that's what caused the underthrow. That's, that stirs up those things that have been going on in Washington, but that was just an excellent defensive play by the line.
Cox just got that punt away. It comes out to midfield and will be down by the Redskins at the 49-yard line of Washington. So the Cardinals, with the good defensive charge, have got themselves good field position after a 35-yard punt. They'll have it at the Redskin 49, trailing 10 to...
Preference is to be able to run the ball 25 or 30 times. He told us that last night when we sat and visited with him. But because of the inability, and one reason why you can't run the football is the offensive line. Now, the offensive line that's starting today with Jacoby, McKenzie, Bostic, Thielemann, and May is the second week in a row that they've had the same 5 people up front start for them all year. So they just haven't had the consistency up front. That has really been as big a contributing factor to the poor running game as anything.
Just short of the first down, as you can see on the measurement. Raider quickly to Clark, dropped the ball, incomplete.
Just when they listen to me, what happens?
Oh yeah, and he was looking to run with it too.
Absolutely. Well, he had a big chance on the last one. Again, it's a little hitch. Now Schrader goes back 1, 2, 3, fires it out, hits Clark perfectly, right in the numbers, and the ball goes to the ground.
So it is third down and about a football.
They always talk about 2nd and 1 as a waste down, but when you can get a completion and a good pickup, you just don't want to waste the opportunity.
Well, they're 0 for 3 in this category. Of course, a lot of that has to do with what you need on third down. This time they don't need much. Let's see what they do. Schrader diving in. He may not have made it.
I don't know. They've got 2 big running backs back there, and although Jay Schrader was 230 pounds 3 weeks ago, he's not there now. That's something I just, they used to call that for me, and I used to call it off. I figure you got a guy 230, another guy 230. Why call a guy 185 pounds or 200 pounds to try and make it?
Well, Schrader with the spot of the ball as the Washington first down. I was quite surprised to hear Jay Schrader say that he'd been up to 230, noticed that he had too much weight on, and has gotten it off.
Well, he said he ran a keeper or a bootleg against the Buffalo Bills in their game, and he said, the weight feels good when you're being pounded throwing the ball, but when you have to turn the corner on a keeper, and it's like pulling a trailer, you just can't get around the corner.
Just the second first down of the afternoon for the Redskins, but they lead this game 10-7. Art Monk got about 4. Good coverage by Leonard Smith, hitting him immediately. I believe second. And it's actually going to be a 3-yard gain.
We talked to Gene Stallings. He said, look, the Redskins are a great football team. If the Redskins play the best that they can play, we can't beat them. We have to get our guys to play well, and I have to give them an opportunity to try and confuse Jay Schrader. If I can't get a big pass rush on him, then I'm going to drop a lot of people back into coverage. On that play, they rushed 4, dropped 7 back into coverage. The result, a 3-yard gain.
Well, St. Louis, without their miscues, would be leading this game. That includes 2 missed field goals by Gallery. Rodgers Pretty good hole for about 5 yards out to the 39-yard line, where Anthony Bell and Leonard Smith combine on the tackle. Sanders comes in.
You know, when you sit and you visit with coaches, the thing they talk about, obviously, every coach says it. I mean, if you talk to them, you know what they're going to say.
We want,
that's right. We want to run the football. There you see Rodgers, 7 carries, 20 yards. Mitchell, 14 carries, 81 yards. Of course, the average per game is a great indicator as well. George almost 3 and Stump almost 6.
3rd down and 3, Redskins. Ricky Sanders, and it appears that he has a first down, but we'll wait and see where they spot it. His knee may have been down short of the marker.
83, Ricky Sanders.
Depends on where they spot. I think he's going to be short. In no other case, there's going to be a measurement.
Look short from here.
Well, they should measure this. It is short. Now, if I was the Redskins, I would ask for a measurement. Because if I'm calling the plays on the Redskins sideline, I want to know how far we really have to go.
They look like they just had their mind made up to punt it.
Well, yeah, but, you know, as a quarterback, see, I believe it's the response. This is something that I think Jay Schrader will learn in time. It's the responsibility of the quarterback out on the field to take charge of the game. That's one of the things. Maybe it's not as far as the coach thinks it is. Give him that extra second to think. If I'm on the field, I want to stay. So why not take advantage of the opportunity?
Go and try and sell it to the coach,
You
right?
got it.
Cox hits it from the 32. Sikahema at the 10. About the 13-yard line. Good coverage by the Redskins, and Reggie Branch, who is usually down there first, made the tackle. A 49-yard punt by Cox. The only surprise in that game, since Kentucky's well regarded, is that Bobby Knight did not take his team off the floor.
Or possibly throw a chip.
Despite losing in overtime. First down, Cardinals at the 13-yard line. Stump Mitchell stopped once, tried again, and wound up with about a 3-yard gain.
That's called a pinball play. What he does is he runs up inside and he bounces off of one guy, bounces off another guy, and winds up with a 4-yard gain.
Joe, what is it with these gloves here? I mean,
They're warm.
It's a nice, pleasant day here.
That's right. I'm a wimp.
You're destroying the image of the tough football player.
That's right. I destroyed that when I played.
2nd down and 6.
If I got my uniform on.
Did you wear those when you played?
I tried. They're all wearing gloves now.
Lomax trying to find an open man, and it's incomplete. A flag down. Good coverage downfield by the Redskins.
Holding against the Cardinals. Probably going to be on Tootie Robbins on the right side against Charles Mann.
We were talking about Bobby Knight. I don't know whether the folks at home saw CBS Sunday Morning with Charles Corral this morning. Wonderful piece on Knight by Bill Geist.
Holding 63 out there. 2nd down.
Yeah, the call was on
Robbins.
Tootie Robbins. Yep.
And Gene Stallings has more to frown about, as his team has been shooting themselves in their feet since the game began. They should be ahead, and they're behind by 3, outplaying the Redskins. And as you can see, they've had the ball for another nearly 8 more minutes.
That was an interesting piece on Bobby Knight.
It was great. Yeah, it really was. Very amusing, and I think to the point. 2nd down and 16. From the end zone, Lomax has got his man, Troy Johnson, to the 20-yard line. Short of the first down by about 4, but out from the shadow of the goal line. Well, we're starting our college basketball season, as we mentioned, and the next week we also have the season premiere of the NBA, the Houston Rockets and the Chicago Bulls, live at 3:30 Eastern time.
You know, I love to watch Michael Jordan play basketball. Of course, he's a big-time golfer now, so he wants to get, when he's finished playing basketball, he wants to go on the golf circuit. He and Yvonne Lendl, you see 2 of them matched up, what kind of stories they'd have.
Jordan hits it a long way, but is he a reasonably good player? What's his age?
Yeah, I think he's down around 10 now.
3rd down, a long 3. Lomax running out of time, and he is dropped at the 11-yard line. The third sack of the day. 4 make it for Washington. Marcus Cook, the second-year man from Boise State.
Well, this is why he can't get the ball off. The top of the screen is J.T. Smith. On the bottom of the screen you see coming off is Roy Green. Now, that's why he can't throw the football. There's nowhere to go. Roy Green's completely covered. J.T. Smith turns around, but you got to have, there's a little clock that goes off in receivers' heads, offensive linemen heads, defensive backs' heads. It's like 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. The ball should be in the air or the quarterback on the ground. That time the quarterback was on the ground.
Greg Horn standing in his end zone. Free agent from Arkansas and Cincinnati Bengals. Good kick. Yarber lets it come down at the 47-yard line of the Cardinals, and it bounces upfield to about the 50, a 38-yard punt.
I just wouldn't be surprised if the Redskins come right back out now and try and hit a big one. They have not had success running the football, and, you know, like I said, the coach wants to run it, but you got to go with what's putting points on the boards for you. You come out, you either throw that little hitch or run the little play-action pass, try and get Monk or Clark down the field.
St. Louis, 49.
Ball right at the 50-yard line for the Redskins on first down. 3:11 remaining. First half. And that is tipped away, intended for Rodgers. Good job by the rookie Rod Sadler from Texas A&M.
And that was just a screen. What they do is they run the receivers, the lower part of your screen here, to the right. Schrader goes back. He looks upfield. He says, well, I want to take the guys downfield. They're not there. George Rodgers swings out here to the right part of the screen, and there you see Sadler just knock it up. Rodgers has his offensive lineman out in front of him. Would have been a good play, but a good defensive play by Rod Sadler.
Schrader 4 of 10 and 98 yards.
84 of them on one pass.
That's right. Second down. Keith Griffin picks up about 3 running the right side.
We've talked in great length about Earl Farrell and what he has meant and what has been missing from the Cardinal offense. The one guy that's not dressed for the Redskins, which is equally as important, is Kelvin Bryant. He's their third down back. He started last week against the Giants. He's responsible for so many yards that the Redskins have. 5 touchdowns, 34 receptions. Playing in his place in third down is Keith Griffin, who does it all, but he's not the back that Kelvin Bryant is.
3rd and 7. Schrader intended for Monk, incomplete. On the coverage, Leonard Smith, the strong safety, number 45. And this Cardinal defense is aroused. The fans that are here are really supporting the Cardinals in this game. All of the talk about them maybe moving, maybe only one more home game next week against the Giants. The faithful came out in unpleasant weather today, and they've been backing the Cardinals.
They really have. And, you know, I talked to the Cardinal players about coming into empty stadiums. Last week in Atlanta, they said there was 15. Looked like there was about 5 or 6. Here, they're nowhere near capacity, what they're used to. And they said it's almost like a scrimmage. The fans really, really can pump up a football team. And they have to go out now and play just on their own emotion, and it's a little bit tough.
Sikahema signal fair catch. The ball bounced back up to the 8-yard line where it is down. Steve Cox with a good punt down to the 9-yard line. Well, coming up at halftime, Brent Irv will bring you up to date on everything going on around the league today. And Mike Ditka and Jerry Burns.
You know, they're going to have a roller skating contest. You know, Ditka, of course, has his roller skates, compliments of Mike Lynn from Minnesota.
A flag on the punt play.
Holding number 52 on the receiving team, post possession, first down.
Holding call against Rich Millott. Pardon me, not Rich Millott. Make it 57 of the Cardinals, and that 52 is Charles Baker. 52, Charlie Baker.
Yeah, you know, Gene Stallings, as you look at him, he's not happy, but to be as close as he is, 10-7 in this ballgame with 2:11 to go in the half, I mean, he's got to consider himself really lucky. They've had no field position. They've missed 2 field goal attempts. They've kept the ball away from the Redskin offense. They're doing a lot of things right. And if they can get out of this without making a turnover and having something bad happen, it could set them up well for a good second half.
Starting from the 4-yard line with a penalty, Lomax in the end zone. J.T. Smith to the 15-yard line and a first down. And we've reached the 2-minute warning here in St. Louis. Washington leads by 3.
The NBA is back next Saturday on CBS Sports.
Tim Ryan and Joe Theismann, Busch Stadium, St. Louis. The Redskins clinging to a 10-7 lead with 2 minutes to play first half. And Washington with just 118 yards of total offense, 84 of that on their touchdown pass, Schrader to Gary Clark. They have 94 yards passing, which obviously includes that touchdown, and only 24 yards rushing, something they wanted to do and obviously felt they could do against this young Cardinal defense. They've been unable to do so.
That's right. Joe Gibbs continuing to search for the formula to get, really, which is no better than a 5-3 football team on the track.
First down. Lomax got the ball away just as he was about to be sacked. Mel Kaufman blitzing, had him in his sights.
Oh, boy. There he is right in the middle of your screen. Now, Kaufman comes from the right. Charles Mann goes outside. Kaufman comes in untouched. Now, Lomax goes back in the pocket. I think that's an interesting one, Tim.
Might have slipped off his fingertips.
Might have just slipped off his fingertips. Yeah, okay. We'll move right along on that one. That's right. You can do it if you're just stopping the clock, which we can say he was trying to do. Stop the clock, and the officials agree with him.
He's got a second down and an inside handoff. Wolfley,
who fumbled the ball and had it bounce right back up to him. Almost a fatal turnover.
Mel Kaufman made the stop.
This is the part of the psychology in the 2 minutes. Do the Redskins use a timeout, or do they allow the Cardinals to try and move down the field?
Mitchell drags a tackler with him to the 47-yard line. Monty Coleman, 25-yard play. The ball looked like it was tipped. What great concentration by Mitchell.
Well, you'll see him come out of the backfield on the lower left side. Now, Monty Coleman's trying to hang on to him, and it looked like it was just tipped at the line of scrimmage. Now, Coleman tries to strip him, but Stump's been there before, and he wrestles him to the ground.
It was Mel Kaufman who got a hand on the ball, so twice Stump Mitchell has had to really keep his eye on the ball because his own man, William Harris, nearly knocked that touchdown pass away from him.
And it's a really smart play by Mel Kaufman, because if you think of the Redskins or the Cardinals this first half, they've completed a lot of short crossing patterns. So why not fake a blitz and jump up and try and knock it away?
Well, a timeout on the field and an opportunity to remind you about our doubleheader action next week. Washington will be home against Dallas. Now, the Cowboys with Steve Blur at quarterback now. See what they can do as they head into Washington. Minnesota at Green Bay. Of course, the Vikings are still in the Central Division race in the NFC. Certainly a wild card.
You and I will be up in that game, actually in Milwaukee.
At Milwaukee, right. And doubleheader game 2, we'll see the Giants here in St. Louis. 4 o'clock Eastern time. Lomax gets some time and has his man, Roy Green, for a first down to the Washington 36-yard line. Cardinals in the hurry-up. 1:16 and counting down.
This is a time where when you've got a veteran quarterback like Neil Lomax, it really pays off. Even though they're in a shotgun, look at how quickly he set that offense up. Can't take a sack here. You can't take a sack.
Has the first down. Out of bounds, stops the clock at the 26.
You also don't want to stick the ball in the face of a defensive guy when you're going out of bounds either. Good presence of mind. Lomax looking back. Redskins in their zone. You see Alvin Walton, Todd Bowles. Now he just scrambles. That's Steve Hamilton trying to run him down and just can't quite. Now watch, look, he sticks the ball out. That, I don't believe, was an intimidating thing. He was trying to point to one of his defensive guys to block somebody. Obviously, he didn't get the message across. That's not a happy man.
First down at the 25-yard line. 59 seconds remaining first half. Going deep for Green. Knocked away by Wilburn. A flag down.
Now here it is. They'll put the flag on the 4-yard line. It's a question of who it's against.
And it looks like it's Wilburn because he is An unhappy young man.
We can always tell who it's against by who's arguing the most.
First and goal at the 4.
There you see a lower right part of your screen. Barry Wilburn matched up against Roy Green. Now, Roy Green's not as fast as he used to be, but he still can play. He must have said there was some type of contact. Now, a lot of times the defensive back moves their arm out. To be honest with you, couldn't quite tell, but it was a call by the official.
Barry Wilburn, 6'3" cornerback. 6 interceptions. Leading the conference, says, hey, I never touched him. I'm going for the football.
I remember when Barry first came into the league, he was a little bit timid, a little bit shy, wasn't really aggressive. Now we asked him what his strength was. He says, probably my strength are my hands and my aggressiveness. There it is. There's the hand right there. Why are they reviewing this?
No, I think we're reviewing it.
We're reviewing it, and the officials are talking about the clock. Good job by the officials.
No question of review there.
They can't review it because it has nothing to do with the bounds of the game. I talked to Art McNally. As a matter of fact, I asked him about instant replay. And I said, do you think that instant replay will survive to next year? He said, I sure hope so. He said, I know we've had some problems, but I really feel like it's improved the quality of the game and what we try to do.
I'm glad you gave the NFL side of the story there.
Sure. That's fair.
It took 7 seconds off the clock after the play. It had not started to count. 51 seconds remains. First and goal at the 4. Touchdown, J.T. Smith. Flag down on the play. Perfect strike from Lomax to Smith. And let's see what the call is.
Offside against the Washington Redskins. Their whole left side of the line jumped.
So the Cardinals are on top.
There he is. Now he's going with a long count. You see the Redskins start to come. Now he's just a 1, 2, 3 pop. J.T. Smith on the quick post. Great catch. There's Lomax after he makes the throw. Now that's, you know, you just can't give a guy who's hot more and more confidence, and that's what's happening to Neil Lomax. As this game goes on, he is gaining confidence.
Gallery for the point after, and he's got it. So the St. Louis Cardinals, with 48 seconds remaining in the first half at Busch Stadium, have taken the lead. Picks his way near the 20-yard line. 43 seconds left for the Redskins to try and make something happen. And Joe, we've seen a Cardinal team that really should have had the lead earlier than the final seconds of this first half, because they have dominated the Redskins. We're really looking at one big play by Washington. That's all they've accomplished.
There's no question that the Cardinals have played a better half of football than the Redskins. What's going to happen now is how will Joe Gibbs approach this last 43 seconds? Will he try and put the ball up and get a field goal? Or will he sit on it going in halftime and give him a chance to reorganize like they did last week? Looks like they're going to put it up.
Incomplete, a drop by Ricky Sanders, number 83, and that's about the 3rd drop.
Well, you can say what you want about the ineffectiveness of the quarterback position and the sporadic nature of Jay Schrader through the course of this year, but he's putting the ball exactly where it has to be. The one deep pass that Lonnie Smith got to, knocked away from Art Monk, wasn't his fault. He was hit as he threw it. Gary Clark drops a little hitch on the left side. That time Ricky Sanders drops a little in, which would have been a first down. You got to get help from the guys around you if you're going to play well.
2nd down. 38 seconds remain. First half. Keith Griffin. Good piece of running by Griffin, close to the first down, over the 30. Schrader gets the timeout.
See, that baffles me. Now, when Griffin was on the ground, there were 32 seconds on the clock. Okay? Jay Schrader, and I watched him as he was running up the field, he was looking to the sideline to see what they wanted to do. Now, that should have been pre-decided in the huddle. 8 seconds is a long time, and it gives you a chance, you know, 1 or 2 big plays. Even though you have 3 timeouts, you could save another 2 or 3 plays with 8 seconds. I think there was a lot of time run off the clock there because of a little indecision by the coaches.
Well, one thing about the Washington coaches, they're tough at halftime. Inevitably, the Redskins make good adjustments when they have had problems in the first half. And last week is just one of many examples because they've come from behind frequently. And, of course, they've had to get heroics on the field. But usually the adjustments they make on the field from the coaching staff turn out to be good.
Well, they haven't really had to make many adjustments other than catch the football. You know, Jay Schrader, the comeback mark, you know, last week was the 9th time in 16 games he's led a football team back from near defeat.
They have a first down at their 31. Almost picked off. Intended for Clark. Diving try by Anthony Bell. Knocked the ball away. First round pick from Michigan State. 48 tackles on the season, and Bell getting better each week.
Well, and they need him to play better. They've got Bell. They moved Freddie Joe Nunn down to defensive end. Nunn's 255, not all that big, but he fits into that Dolman, you know, not necessarily big enough to be a defensive guy, a little bit too big to be a linebacker, so they make him the pass-rushing defensive end. Anthony Bell, of course, another number 1, has to play well and has started to on the right side for the Cardinals.
Second down. 3-man front here in this prevent defense.
This is a true prevent defense.
18 seconds remain. Screen, Griffin, nowhere. Good response, and Carl Carter, the rookie cornerback, made a fine tackle, number 41.
And David Galloway gets over and gets involved in it. Galloway, of course, back after a number of injuries, starting to play better.
So we have reached the end of the first half, and the St. Louis Washington Redskins 14-10 as we begin the second half.
I think Joe Gibbs told his, you know, you and I were talking earlier, what does a coach tell his team at halftime? I think Joe Gibbs told his guys, look, we have to go out and start to play Redskin football. We can't wait for second halves all the time. Gene Stallings, on the other hand, told his ball club, look, you're in control of the game. Keep up the intensity. Keep on doing the things right.
Jim Gallery's line drive kickoff taken by Reggie Branch and returned to the 30-yard line.
29, Reggie Branch on return.
And as you can see, the Redskins with just 35 yards of rushing in the first half, 130 yards of total offense, that doesn't get it done. And one big pass play accounting for 84 of those 95 passing yards.
You look at the 4 quarterback sacks, 3 first downs.
You know what has to be asked? How long do we see Schrader? If the game is close, will he stick with him? Or if he continues to be ineffective in a close game, will we see Williams?
No, he will stick with Jay Schrader. I believe he's going to stay with Schrader now under extreme circumstances. You can't play musical quarterbacks, and he's going to stay with him. Also, I talked to Doug Williams in the locker room before the ball game. He is really not 100%. He asked not to play last week because he felt he would hurt the football team because his back was bothering tremendously. Today, he's only about 85 or 90%. He could go, but it still would be a problem.
George Rogers picked up 9 on that carry out the right side. 2nd and 1. Rogers again. Good hole for him. E.J. Jr. rides him down after a gain of 6. And this is what they wanted to do with Rogers when the game began.
Well, the first time he carried, there's Doug Williams cheering him on. He got a little pouch to keep his hands warm. I mean, that is one class act. There's the stats for the year. Had it not been for a back problem, he would probably still be the starting quarterback. And it's the way football is sometimes. A little bit of stroke of luck, a little bit of misfortune for one guy, a stroke of luck for the other, and, you know, it changes the fortunes and fates of men.
First down, Redskins at their own 47. Schrader, Gary Clark trying to reach the first down. The ball came loose. Cardinals say they have it.
And the official agrees with him.
St. Louis. Steve Alvord. rookie defensive tackle stripped it away from Gary Clark, and Gregory Johnson, I believe, may have come up with a loose ball. Let's see what happens here.
Well, it's that little hitch play. Schrader goes back in the pocket. Again, hits Clark right on the numbers. Now he's 2 out of 3 with catches on this. Tries to move upfield. This is something Gary Clark does. Now you see the ball just gets stripped away. He cannot get possession of it. And Nikanoga pops up in the air.
Look at that. Came right into the hands. It was Alvord who came up with the ball. And the strip was made by Gregory Johnson. So the Cardinals, a quick turnover and a first down on the first play from Lomax to the tight end, Robert Awalt.
A lot of time for Neil Lomax to throw the ball. He's the type of a guy, if you give him a chance to sit in the pocket and throw the ball, he is going to eat you alive. He's got J.T. Smith. He's got Roy Green. Now Robert Awalt has come really from nowhere to become a very prime receiver in that Cardinal offense.
Ball at the 48-yard line of the Redskins. Stump Mitchell gets a couple. 46 of Washington. A little extra pushing and shoving after the play.
Well, that's a little bit of the frustration that the Redskins are feeling, and also it's probably a carryover of what went on in the locker room. I had a chance to talk to Todd Bowles earlier this week, and I asked him what it was like in the locker room at halftime of the Giant game last week when they were losing 16-0. He said, well, people were, Coach Gibbs was pretty much under control. I said, did you have to duck any helmets being thrown around? He said, just a few.
Second and a long 8. Lomax sideline for J.T. Smith. Caught the ball with the inbounds. And now he gets up with a little tussle with Wilburn. Remember, Wilburn probably still upset about that interference call that he suffered down near the goal line back late in the first half.
I'll guarantee you Barry Wilburn is still hot from that play you talked about. Here he is. It's just one-on-one. Neil Lomax with plenty of time to throw the football. Now, from the left part of your screen, you're going to see Dexter Manley try and come inside. Gerald Grant just does barely get to him. Look at this catch. That's just a great catch. 1-2, and he's in. Good coverage by Wilburn, and great catch by J.T. Smith. There he is. He's ridden out of bounds. There they go. There it is. Here, take it.
So Smith throwing the ball at him. That's what irritated Wilburn, too.
Now everybody's picking on him.
At the 35-yard line, and still some conversation and scuffling going on.
That's Alvin Walt. You know, the Redskin fans have seen it. He's got a diamond carved in his head. As far as that's all the hair he has on the top of his head is a diamond-shaped arrow. And I think that points to the direction of the ball carrier for him. Wherever the ball carrier is, that's where my head's going to be.
He's having quite a season, as that stat would indicate. 15 tackles last week in the big win over the Giants.
And of course, you know, he wears a collar like a linebacker on his neck.
2nd and 8. On the run by Mitchell. Mitchell again. Dexter Manley wraps him up, but Mitchell pulls him for an extra couple of yards. And again, some pushing and shoving going on.
Well, now
Walton
he's just
taking on one of the bigger guys, Tootie Robbins, at 300 pounds.
Now, the play before was Louis Sharp. He must have a tackle finish. He's just taking on big tackles. There he is. Now, there's Tootie coming out to block him. Of course, a little quick guy, and he's getting pushed around and pushed around. Allen says, don't you push me. There, wait, hold it. Push you again. Wait, no. A little bit of fire in his heart. I think he might. That must be just a little too much. You know, I mean, that's a little too much you're biting on.
3rd down and 6. On the shotgun, going deep. Incomplete, intended for Troy Johnson. Johnson complaining about interference, but that was one of those tangle situations. The coverage was from Dennis Woodbury, number 46. And they just kind of got tangled up with each other.
Well, the Cardinals make the right decision. It's man-to-man coverage. Lomax puts this out. He just puts the ball a little too far out. There you see the contact. Incidental, is that the word they use? Would you use incidental on that one, Tim?
Yeah, I'd have to say that that was a no-call situation. Well, Gallery is now going to try a field goal here from the 38-yard line. It'll be a 48-yard try. His longest of the year, 44 yards. What a confidence builder it would be if he could hit it, and he does.
Hit the upright. Hey, if it doesn't go through clean, see, that's his problem. That's the problem he's had. He hasn't been able to hit an upright. Watch this one. You'll see it. It just starts to hook. Coach Stalling said he's got a great, strong leg. Said it's like a golfer. He hits the ball so far, he always winds up behind a tree. That time the tree helped him out.
It sure did. A bank shot from 48 yards away. Ricky Sanders over the 30-yard line. A fine return right up the middle for the Redskins. And there's the man of the moment, a 48-yard field goal, his longest of the season, after missing 2 back in the first half. Well, don't forget, next Saturday, NCAA college basketball begins here on CBS Sports. Louisville against Kentucky. What a rivalry. And Kentucky with their overtime victory over Indiana. That's live at 1:30 Eastern Time. Next Saturday, followed by the season premiere of the pro basketball season on CBS, the Houston Rockets and the Chicago Bulls. First down, Redskins trailing by 7. Play action. Schrader. Sliding Gary Clark makes the grab for a first down to the 47-yard line of Washington. And a slick field, you could see him skid for a couple of yards.
A
18-yard gain.
Redskin fans are getting used to this. The Redskins come out and try and run the football the first half. Now they come out and start to put it up. Remember the touchdown pass that Gary Clark caught in the first half on Johnny Holloway? Well, Holloway's given him a lot of room this time. That time he breaks it off across the middle for the big game.
Don Warren, the tight end, in the backfield. Blocking for Rogers. Rogers cannot get wide. A diving tackle by Lonnie Young trips him up for a loss of a yard. For an NFL update, let's take you to New York and Brent Musburger.
Tim, it'll be all uphill now for the Dallas Cowboys. Atlanta has just slammed in its 3rd touchdown of the game. Scott Campbell, the quarterback, keeping it 21-10 Falcons. Back to Tim.
Wow, Atlanta having themselves a good day finally. It's been a long, difficult season for Marion Campbell and his young team, all battered with injuries, so got to kind of cheer for them today. 2nd and 11. Schrader with time and drills a low ball incomplete. Gary Clark again.
Makes the catch. Gary Clark getting down on it to cradle it and make the grab. Again, Jay Schrader just firing that ball out. He just doesn't look that comfortable in the pocket to me. I mean, he gets back there, he's waiting and waiting and waiting. Quarterbacks like to be in a rhythm. If you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, set, throw. Boom, 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 bang. But he's out of a little bit of a rhythm. He's having to hang on to the ball a little bit longer than I think he would like to.
He's got a 3rd and 2 here as the crowd exhorts the Cardinal defense for Art Monk, and Monk incomplete. In and out of the hands, and a flag down back in the Redskin backfield.
That's going to be called on Freddie Joe Nunn. That's a big break for the Redskins and a tough luck break for the Cardinals.
Well, problems with the microphone on referee Tom Dooley. You can see he's getting some help down there from number 26, Ed Marion, the head linesman. Got to be a technician these days.
Well, I know. I was just going to say referees are technicians, and it doesn't work anyway for them. He said there was a personal foul on number 78 defense, which is Freddie Joe Nunn, and that'll be hitting in the face of Mark May.
Freddie Joe Nunn, the 3rd-year man from Ole Miss, converted linebacker, as Joe mentioned earlier, playing at left defensive end. Of course, the way they move the fronts around these days from 3 to 4 men and so on. Sometimes he's up, sometimes he's down.
But that has been a very big plus for the Cardinal defense to have Freddie Joe Nunn find a place to play. He was a #1 draft choice in '85. It also frees up Anthony Bell an opportunity to play, who was their #1 pick in '86. So you got both your #1s on the field at the same time. And that's what you have to have. You got to have your top players out on the field. And this is a big penalty. This is not one of those little 5-yard jobbies. They're calling this one hitting in the head. It's going to be a 15-yarder.
Well, tempers have been short since the start of this second half. We've seen Walton and Wilburn of the Redskins on defense showing a little temper flaring, and now we've seen a little more here from Freddie Joe Nunn of the Cardinals. It cost them at the 30-yard line of St. Louis, a Washington first down. Rodgers, not much. Bob Clasby, second-year man from Notre Dame and the USFL on the stop, along with Rod Sadler, number 72. Bob Clasby got himself a lot of ink in St. Louis this week because of his family connections to the Kennedy family, and finally a reporter learned that he had indeed played in those legendary touch football games up in Hyannisport with the Kennedy family when he was a child.
This is a time where the Redskins like to try and get the ball to Art Monk. Let him go a little one-on-one, maybe make a move 4 or 5 yards downfield, and just pick up the first down. There it is.
And it's Art Monk wide open. Gets a block and goes out at the 12-yard line. Nice call, Joe.
Well, get lucky. See Art Monk come across the formation. That's a little dodge, it's called. He comes out and he reads the defense, gives a little out move. It's almost like a pick, but it's not a pick when the defensive player runs into the other defensive player. It's a tough job for Johnny Holloway. He has to cover Gary Clark, Art Monk. It's a lot to ask for a guy. Cedric Mack, of course, not playing. Holloway starting his first game as a second-year player, free agent out of Kansas. There's a real workhorse. J.T. Smith and Art Monk, two of the 2 iron horses in the game today.
Redskins deep in Cardinal territory now, and Rodgers hit behind the line by Freddie Joe Nunn. Got back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about it. So the running game continues to be a problem for the Washington Redskins. 39 yards, 12 carries for Rodgers, but he has not had a lot of room to run in.
No, he really hasn't. It's not that they haven't tried. They seem to always try and get back and get George the ball, but it has not been effective for the Redskins.
2nd and 10. 3 receivers flanked out to the right. In the middle, complete to the 6-yard line, Art Monk.
Well, you know, we talked earlier. Normally a team, when the offensive unit gets inside the 20, which is called the red area, the defensive teams there 95% of the time play man-to-man coverages. What the Cardinals are doing are changing up. They're rushing 3 and dropping 8 back into zone coverage, which really gives you fewer and fewer places to throw the football. The Redskins being patient, moving it down, and the Cardinals are like saying, okay, fine. We'll stop you, and you just kick a field goal, and we've done our job.
3rd and 5 facing Jay Schrader. He'll run it. Touchdown. Fine play by the Redskins, and Jay Schrader with a little conversation for Leonard Smith after he scored the touchdown, and they're 1 point away from the tie.
Well, that's a quarterback draw now. That's a very effective play. Got 6 yards to go for the touchdown. I said they're rushing 3, dropping 8 back into coverage. They've got all the receivers double covered, but the one guy that normally defenses don't ever cover is the quarterback. And that time they didn't.
Ali Haji Sheikh with the point after try, and he gets the Redskins even here with 6:11 to go in the 3rd quarter.
Now you see the gaps in the line. There you see Galloway come up one side, Nunn comes up the other. You're asking Glaspie to cover a lot of territory between the 2 tackles, and Schrader just strolls in. Lonnie Smith. Now Jay says, here, take that.
Yeah, I think it was that spike that got Smith hot. So there's a little helmet bumping there. But we have a tie football game. We are back at Busch Stadium. Washington kickoff taken by McAdoo. Loose ball. And recovered by the Redskins. Deep in St. Louis territory. But a flag down on the play. Dennis Woodbury came up with a loose ball. Let's see what the flag is about.
Illegal use of hands against the Cardinals.
So the Redskins are going to have the football deep in St. Louis territory. They're going to spot it at the 17-yard line. And they're coming off the 7-yard touchdown run by Schrader.
All Tom's saying is that somebody used their hands illegally and it was declined and they are going to take the ball. There you're going to see the hit, excuse me. McAdoo coughing the ball up. Woodbury making the recovery.
It was Reggie Branch who knocked the ball loose for the Redskins. And now they have a great opportunity to take the lead again. Didier in motion. Rogers cuts it back in the middle. He's got running room inside the 10-yard line. George Rogers to about the 9. E.J. Jr. and Anthony Bell, the linebackers, converge on him. A pickup of about 7. An impressive drive for the Redskins. 71 yards in 8 plays, using up 4:43 on the clock. And then the opportunity immediately with the fumble by McAdoo to take the lead here. Rogers again trying the middle. Driven back, but may have the first down. Noga and Leonard Smith on the stop.
Redskins playing much more inspired the second half. I don't know what it is about that football team. They have not really played very well any first halves other than the Buffalo game this year. They've come out and played inspired in the second half. It's almost like they feel like they have to spot people some points and just be really ineffective and then find themselves and come back out. Gene Stallings, of course, shaking his head, saying, what else can we do wrong this afternoon?
Well, that's it. The Cardinals have had the better of the play, but they have gotten themselves into problems with miscues and missed field goals. Rogers will score. Touchdown. Now, George Rogers, who had struggled through the first half, finds himself with a touchdown.
And that's only his 3rd rushing touchdown this year. Now, it's very unlike a Redskin football team to have one of your big backs only have 3 rushing touchdowns through the course of the year. But it just is another one of the indicators as to the way the Redskins have played this year.
Ali Haji Sheikh hits the point after. And so the Redskins strike quickly for 2 touchdowns early in the second half. And they lead 24-17.
This is the Redskins' famous counter tray. Now, on the left top part of your screen, that's Mark May outside, R.C. Thielemann on the inside. Thielemann kicks out on E.J. Jr. May picks up Noga. George Rogers turns the corner. Clint Didier out blocking on Leonard Smith, and bam. He hasn't done that very often this year.
Only the 3rd time, as you pointed out, and George Rogers gives the Redskins a 24-17 lead. Don Holmes returning this kickoff and gets over the 30-yard line to the 33. So pretty good field position for the Cardinals. Rich Vallot made the tackle for Washington.
Kicks used to be automatic in the National Football League. Now life has become exciting. Ali Haji Sheikh does not want to be outdone by Jim Gallery. He figures he'll hit the upright and show him that he can knock it through as well.
It's kind of a Minnesota skinny shot, I guess, in the case of Haji Sheikh, huh?
Yeah, you know, they should change the rule. If you hit the upright and it bounces in, you get a point and a half or maybe 2.
So first down from the 30-yard line, and they'll go to Mitchell. Mitchell hit behind the line, struggles for maybe 2. Dexter Manley Now very aware of Mitchell coming his way, has tightened things up on that side for Mitchell, who has 95 yards on the day. Now let's see what they give him. Let's call it 94 yards on 19 carries. Stump Mitchell.
Dexter Manley has not always been known, actually has not been known as a good run defensive lineman. His forte is more the pass rush, but today he's having to play a little more run because they're coming at him.
Lomax intended for Roy Green, incomplete. Will leave 3rd down and 8. Dexter Manley finally started to talk to the press last week after a 3-sack performance against the Giants. Here we see him here on the run.
See him again try and take the inside on Louis Sharp. Sharp does a good job of keeping his feet, giving Lomax plenty of protection, but that guy on the ground in front of Lomax is little Dave Butts.
3rd down. 6 defensive backs in on the passing down, facing Neil Lomax. And Sharp moved a little early, expecting that charge from Manley, and the flags are no doubt for that.
The statistic that everybody sees from Dexter Manley is that he gets a sack or he gets a hurry. But one of the things that he causes so often are illegal procedure penalties by the left defensive tackles because they want to try and get away and get out. And I know it's been mentioned before, but it's a statistic that Manley ought to keep or have someone keep for him because it's an integral part of what he can do to an offense.
We should have his agent keep it, right?
Let him do it.
3rd down.
Right,
At 14. On the shotgun, it'll be Lomax standing at his 20. Goes to the short man, and a nice catch, but well short of the 1st down. J.T. Smith, a diving grab of a low ball. But the Cardinals will have to punt.
Now, there was a question. They didn't know whether the whistle had blown. The official never really blew the whistle. He just sort of marked him down. Houston beating up on San Diego. Pittsburgh ahead of Seattle. Seattle still has not recovered from that thrashing that Bo Jackson gave him the other evening. That was a great performance by a runner.
Wasn't it?
227 yards, something like that.
This is Greg Horn. And the Redskins stopping the Cardinals. They may have turned the mental dominance in this game around. Eric Yarber will return, but not very far. Ilya Yarashchuk, reserve linebacker, made the tackle. Washington will start from their 22 when we return. The famous St. Louis Arch framing our reminder that next week our doubleheader action will be very intriguing. Dallas, currently losing to Atlanta, will be at Washington against the Redskins. The Redskins trying to clinch the NFC East here today against St. Louis and struggling. Minnesota, a wild card possibility, still trying for the Central Division title against the Bears. They'll be at Milwaukee to take on the Packers. So lots of important action next week on CBS, and then the Giants, our doubleheader game, will be here at St. Louis. Rodgers barreled out of bounds at the 30-yard line. And, of course, the Washington-Dallas rivalry, always a big one. Joe, did you ever remember maybe looking ahead to Dallas when you knew you had them the following week?
Well, you really couldn't look ahead. I mean, you just had to really prepare for the opponent that you were playing with. Even though you know it's a big interdivisional rivalry, you see here on the graphic, the Redskins have been 8-0 on the weeks before they're playing Dallas. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot of games, but remember, the Redskins have opened the season quite often with the Cowboys, so obviously that wouldn't come into play in this statistic. But they pretty much concentrate on the week's task that they're dealing with.
2nd down and 6. Redskin ball at their 33. Rodgers, not much room to go, got to about the 29.
Remember we talked earlier about 4, 5, 6 plays maybe in a game being very crucial to each team. This play coming up is very crucial to St. Louis. 2 minutes, 18 seconds to go in the 3rd quarter. They've got to shut down the Redskin offense and try and get the ball back with good field position for their football team. you know, to keep everybody in the game. They can't let them control the game.
No, and I think the Cardinals have got to have a good offensive series when they get the ball back. Third down. Sanders in motion. Schrader. Complete. First down at the 36-yard line. And it was Keith Griffin out of the backfield.
And we talked about Keith Griffin taking the place of Kelvin Bryant. We asked Joe Gibbs, you know, how to use Kelvin Bryant. He's such a valuable part of that Redskin offense. I mean, started last week as a running back. There's a guy, Keith Griffin, who's filling in for him. But Kelvin Bryant, Joe Gibbs has decided he's got to be a situation back. He really can't play him a lot because if he plays 2 or 3 games in a row, he comes up like he has for this one with a very badly pulled hamstring and a bad ankle.
Schrader's numbers improving as the game goes on. Now over the 50% mark, 11 for 20, and going deep. He's got Sanders. The ball short, but Sanders comes back for it. Flag down. Ricky Sanders makes the catch at the 10-yard line. Back on the coverage, Carl Carter, the second-year man from Texas Tech. Lonnie Young, the third-year man from Michigan State.
Now, Carl Carter proved he can run, but what he wasn't able to do was find the ball. That's what great receivers can do for you. There's
The interference call is against St. Louis. 54 yards to the 10.
This is just some good blocking. The Cardinals rush the 4 up front. Jay Schrader looks to his left and just throws the ball up the field. Now, this pass is badly underthrown, but Sanders just manages to keep his feet, let Carter run by him, keep an eye on the ball, and just does make the catch, but comes up with it.
54-yard pass play. Schrader to Ricky Sanders. Schrader to the tight end, touchdown. Didier.
The forgotten man.
Clint Didier. And Schrader continues his second half heroics, but a flag is down back at the line of scrimmage.
Holding against the Redskins. You see the disgust on Jay's face. I mentioned Clint Didier, the forgotten man. Last year he had 34 receptions. This year he's had 7 receptions, 5 of them coming against the Rams. R.C. Thielemann, the right guard, just to the inside of the post. You'll see him latch on to Bob Glaspie. He just can't do that. Can't take him down. It's a hold-on takedown.
So back at the 20-yard line, Schrader barks the signals. Little roll this time by Schrader. And unloads the ball as he's chased out of bounds by David Galloway. Galloway coming off injured reserve after suffering a broken arm. They didn't really expect him to be back this soon, but Galloway wanted to get into action. They think he's their best defensive lineman and certainly their best pass rusher.
And of course, with Curtis Greer hampered with a series of injuries, they were really looking for some help from that right defensive end position.
Greer has gone on to injured reserve because of his continuing back problems along with other injuries. So red-hot Jay Schrader will try from the 20-yard line again on second down. Keith Griffin. Galloway from behind, and Travis Curtis from in front, number 20. A rookie defensive back from West Virginia. Griffin did not get much. 2 yards on the play. Third down. They need 19 as time winds down here in the third quarter.
The Cardinals can't make a mistake here. They can't give up a cheap touchdown to the Redskins on 3rd and 19. At best, they're going to have to make them settle for a field goal attempt.
Touchdown, Clint Didier.
They didn't get it the first time, but he got it this time.
They caught it both times. And Schrader went right back to him.
Well, they split everybody out. They put Didier in the game. Of course, there's Monk in the game, Gary Clark, Ricky Sanders, and Clint Didier. They run Didier on a little out-and-up pattern against the linebacker. It's a mismatch because he's really like a wide receiver and makes a big catch. It's 3rd down and 19.
Touchdown play on 3rd and 19. Anthony Bell, the unfortunate linebacker, assigned the coverage on Didier on the play. Sheik has the point after, and the Redskins have turned it around again in the second half as we wind down in the 3rd period.
Second man in from the top of your screen. That's Clint Didier crouched down just outside of Mark May. Now Anthony Bell is on him. He starts out. He gets in now. A little move. Didn't even give him a move. Just runs right up the field. They've double covered the outside receivers, but they don't double cover the tight end. There's a reception for the TD. He just flat runs right by him.
31-17. A happy Jay Schrader says, I think I'll just play second half.
There you go. Yes. Yeah, now left part of your screen, you see Bell. Now just moved out of your screen. He looks to his left to read the defense, move the safety over, and just make the throw. Didier doing an excellent job to get right on top of that. Now, see here, this is it. You always go over and find the quarterback because you know the camera's going to go there, and you talk to him a little bit, so hopefully it stays on you.
I'm sure Didier's been talking to another quarterback here, his former college teammate Neil Lomax. They were the combination at Portland State under Mouse Davis.
Of course,
they got offense.
Joe Gibbs went up to look at Neil Lomax, and there was this skinny little 205-pound wide receiver out running around by the name of Clint Didier. And by the afternoon, Joe Gibbs finally said, look, we're looking for a 3rd or around 4th pick for a quarterback. You're going to go in the 4th round, but let me talk to this wide receiver. I think he can help us.
Sikahema got it to the 35. Let's go to Brent Musburger in New York for an update.
Well, Tim, the Giants are going to put the Eagles away this afternoon. Here's Phil Simms, who was shaken up, back in the game. He goes to Stephen Baker, the touchdown maker. 6 more for the Giants. They add the extra point right now, and it's 26. Back to Tim.
Super Bowl champions spoiling the hopes of the Philadelphia Eagles. Sikahema's returned to the 30-yard line. First down, Cardinals there. 15 seconds left, 3rd period. For Green, he's got it. No, it's incomplete. Roy Green looked like he had the ball, but did not hold on.
And Darrell Green having his hands full trying to cover Roy Green. I talked to Darrell earlier this week, and I said, rate yourself for me. On a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you think you're playing? He said, I'm a 6.99. Now, we all know he's a 4.2 40 man, so 6.99. He feels like he's just playing to about a 7. He's not where he was. The strike didn't really hurt him that much, but he came to camp a little out of shape because of the ankle injury. That's the reason why he didn't compete in the fastest man competition, and is really not up to playing condition. Just starting to get there now.
On 2nd down, Stump Mitchell picks up a block and gets about 6 yards to the 36. Monty Coleman makes the stop, and we've come to the end of the 3rd quarter. With the score, the Washington Redskins 31, St. Louis 17. We pause for a word from your local station. To 17. However, as you can see, 4th quarter is where St. Louis lives. Look at these numbers they've racked up in 3 games. In the Dallas game, 21 points in the final 2 minutes. 3rd down and about 4. Complete to J.T. Smith. Shakes loose from one man and moves to the 47-yard line of Washington. Monty Coleman and Todd Bowles pull him down.
Well, the Iron Horse making a big play. That time Dennis Woodbury in coverage. They come up. The Redskins fake the blitz. There's Monty Coleman. Now he's just in man-to-man coverage on Sikahema. Lomax reads the coverage. Smith pushes him up the field. Oh, but it's going to be brought back because of an illegal formation.
Troy Johnson, the culprit, and again, if there's been a story of the game for St. Louis, it's that most of the good things they've accomplished have been wiped out by mistakes.
Well, we saw it earlier in the third quarter. They'd stopped the Redskins on third down, close, backed up in their own territory, wound up with a penalty, gave them new life. Boom, wind up with a touchdown.
Yeah, we got a real huddle going on down there with the striped shirts to sort this one out.
Third time the clock operator has been notified. They want to take the clock back up. It's at it was at 14:36, so they've given back 15 more seconds. Cardinals going to have to look into a new clock operator. That's
They put him on waivers.
That's, you got to be careful.
Third down and 9. Penalty against Troy Johnson. So again, Lomax being put in a spot here where he's got to come up with a big play. And now time becoming a factor as they trail 31-17. Cardinals have to keep the football, but the defensive surge of the Redskins, their 5th sack, dropping Lomax at the 21-yard line.
Oh, boy, you could hear that woof when he got hit. That's Alvin Walton coming in from the left side, just like a little small freight train. Lomax turning around, wanting to see what hit him.
Mann and Hamilton leading the charge. Hoffman right there. They really poured in.
See him rushing off the field because the Cardinals go with a quick setup.
Greg Horn's punt taken by Yarber at the 35 of Washington. Good return by Yarber inside the 50. St. Louis territory at the 48. Washington leads 31-17. Back here at Busch Stadium, the Washington Redskins with 3 third-quarter touchdowns have taken the lead against the Cardinals. Gowrie missing 2 field goals early on as the Cardinals had an opportunity to take a sizable lead. The struggling Redskins suddenly turned it on here in the second half. And Jay Schrader, as I was asking you, Joe, right at the beginning of the second half, well, now things have not gone well for him in the first half. Will Joe Gibbs think about giving him the hook? He said no, he'll stay with him. And sure enough, like he has so frequently in the second half, Schrader got it going.
Well, that's the one thing that Jay Schrader has going for him. He may play 3 lousy quarters, but he can come out in 5 minutes or 1 quarter and make up the big difference. He has such great receivers, and just boom, 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 he's back in the game. And Joe Gibbs believes in that. Jay's proven it. As we mentioned, 9 out of 16 times his team has been behind. He's brought him back from defeat, from what could be possible defeat. So you got to go with the guy who can pull you out of the fire.
Well, on first down at midfield, George Rogers got about a half yard. But the Redskins starting following the St. Louis punt in excellent field position here, and things have definitely started to go their way, and the Cardinals are going to have to come up with some of their late scoring heroics to keep themselves in this. They trail 31-17.
And the Redskins still searching for that running game that they've been trying to find all year.
Play action, and Schrader on a run.
Get out of bounds. See, he's maturing very fast, very fast. Take what you get and get out of bounds.
The 34-yard line, there's one quarterback telling another how to protect himself.
That's right. You want to stay in the game. Doug Williams found out if you don't play, the other guy may come in and do a good job, and then it makes it tough to get back in. Green Bay giving San Francisco a handful. Look at Indianapolis and Cleveland.
Pittsburgh beating Seattle today. Real blow for the Seahawks. They fall to 7-5 in that very interesting AFC West. From the 35-yard line on first down, long count by Schrader.
That was an audible.
And Rogers dropped behind the line of scrimmage.
He might have thought about going to another play after he saw the results of that one.
Leonard Smith was blitzing, and he ran right into Rogers when he got the ball.
What kind of a force is Joe Jacoby? There he is, second in from the left part of your screen. He is one big man. There he comes around the corner, and he says, who should I hit? Let me hit somebody. Let me hit, no, wait, hold it. I'm 300 and and 15 pounds. I'm 6'6", and I couldn't find anybody to hit.
You would think a big guy like that had fallen into something.
Gotta be kidding.
Second down and 12 on the loss. Keith Griffin dives for about 4 yards. It'll leave 3rd and 9. Leonard Smith put the hit on him. That's the final score. We mentioned Pittsburgh over Seattle, and damaging blow to the Seahawks.
Well, I really believe they're still reeling from their last week's defeat to the Raiders. The Raiders had not been playing well. Bo Jackson just came in and did a number on them, and it's, you know, it's going to dampen their playoff hopes.
You can see Griffin favoring his Charlie horse. He took a shot there from Leonard Smith, and he is sore. Now remember, Kelvin Bryant is out of this game with injuries.
He is their only real third down back, so he's got to go.
3rd down and 8. Schrader, and it's intercepted. Intended for Didier. Picked off by Travis Curtis. Curtis returns to the 36-yard line of St. Louis. The rookie makes his 4th interception, and he leads the Cardinals in that category.
You'll see Jay Schrader going back in the pocket. Now, he said he has to really step forward and fire the ball if he's throwing comfortably. He throws that one and just doesn't really get a lot into it. He just goes up on his toe, but really doesn't come forward and throw the ball like he's capable of throwing. Now, Travis Curtis, he's from Potomac, Maryland, so that's a big play for him. Playing in front of what would be fans when he was young.
Sure, some folks from Potomac looking in today, watching the mighty Redskins here. The pass intended for the tight end Novacek, off target, and 2nd down. And an injury report on Art Monk. That's him huddled up over there. A sprained right knee. Will not be back in this game. And obviously a key loss.
Well,
somebody
it is.
like Monk.
They can ill afford a loss at the wide receiver position because with the problems they've had at running back, with Rodgers not playing, Kelvin Bryant in and out, they've had to carry 5 running backs. Normally, teams will carry 4 running backs, 5 wide receivers. Redskins are only carrying 4 wide receivers, so it makes them very thin at that position.
On 2nd down, Lomax. That's complete to Roy Green to the 49-yard line of St. Louis. Hit there by Rich Malott. And the cornerback, Holloway.
Yeah, there you see the clock. You've got to be aware of what's going on the field. Lomax, of course, has performed his miracles the last few weeks in the 4th quarter.
I said cornerback Holloway. I meant Darrell Green, of course, number 28.
I knew that.
For Washington.
We knew that. No problem. No reason to explain.
The 49. Some Redskins fans might have missed a defensive pickup there. That's off the hands of the tight end Awalt.
That's what's known as a look of frustration. He says, come on, catch the ball. That's what he said to him right there.
Robert Awalt's been catching most of them out of San Diego State.
Has not dropped many.
Number 3 pick this year. Got the tight end back into the Cardinals offense.
Of course, another San Diego State tight end, Donnie Warren, playing for the Redskins.
The drops have affected both of the quarterbacks in this game this afternoon. Schrader back in the 1st half. Since then, they've been catching him for him. Little drop play to Wolfley, and Wolfley nowhere to go. And only about a yard. Wolfley, and I asked him about replacing Earl Farrell. He said, you know, how can you replace Earl Farrell? He said, I just will try to bring what I can to the game, and, you know, that's a lot of intensity. I can't do the same things that Farrell can, and Neil Lomax acknowledges that Farrell is a key to this Cardinals offense. They're really going to miss him. He's gone for the year.
And, you know, Wolfley also mentioned with regards to Farrell, he said, I just want to play the best I possibly can because I want it to be a tribute to Earl. I want him to be proud of the job I'm doing at the position that he's unable to play at.
3rd and 9. They really need this one here. The Cardinals with 10:26 remaining. Lomax deep and incomplete. Diving try over there by J.T. Smith.
Oh, and he knew he had him too. See? Boy, sometimes, you know, quarterbacks, you know when you get a guy going up the field open. And there was one. You see the disgust. He's saying, gee, I had him. I know I had him. He's going to think about that one for a little bit.
Just about a yard too long. So the Cardinals will have to punt. And the Redskins now have assumed the dominance in this game. They've got a sizable lead. They're going to have the football. And 10-17 left to play. Horns punt into the end zone. Washington will start from their 20 when we return. Tim Ryan and Joe Theismann in the rain in St. Louis. Next week, our NFL action includes Dallas and Washington. Washington can clinch the NFC East with a victory here. Dallas looks like they're out of the wild card hunt, trailing Atlanta. Minnesota will be at Green Bay, and the Vikings very much in the wild card picture. The second game will have the Giants at St. Louis right here. Might be the last game for the Cardinals at Busch Stadium if owner Bill Bidwell decides to move his club after the season. On first down, Rodgers picks up about 7. Rodgers had 20 yards rushing on 7 carries in the first half, but Joe here in the second, 43 yards on 13 carries. So he's now at 21 carries in the game, and the penalty will be against St. Louis.
It's going to be on Nico Noga, I believe, for hitting Jeff Bostic. Well, that's what happens when you get a middle linebacker and a center going at it. Sometimes some feelings, but you see on the right of your screen, 53, Jeff Bostic going up against Nico Noga. Now, Bostic, who's really come back and played well at center, he's down on the ground, and pow, you just can't.
Whoa.
That's stupid.
That sure was.
I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, yeah, you get frustrated, but hit a guy on the side of the shoulder pad if you want to swing. You hit anybody in the helmets, they're just going to throw flags.
Well, you're also going to bruise your knuckles on the face guard.
And they got so much tape on their hands. They wouldn't feel.
First down. Rodgers.
Maybe it has some secret meaning in Tonga. You know, like way to go, how are you, hi. You know, maybe it's some type of a sign language. I think it's some type of sign language. Don't you block me like that again, I think is what it means. George Rodgers, you're going to see a smile on his face. He feels like he's finally come back and become a contributing part of the offense. Something he has not been a part of the last couple of weeks.
Well, he's gotten the ball the 20-plus times that he expected and wanted to have it, and he's grinding it out. Second down and 6. And, of course, the Redskins trying to take the time off the clock by using him on the ground. Here he is again. He's got a big hole this time. Now, that is the kind of running that Rodgers can do if you give him a little room to operate.
Well, also, you know, you got Freddie Joe Nunn, who's at 255, Mark May, who's listed at 295, probably closer to 300. And as the game goes on, the guy that weighs 30 or 40 pounds more than the other fella is going to become more dominant. You got May at let's say 300. You got Thielemann at 272, going up against Claspy, who's 260, and Nunn, who's 260. So, I mean, just as the game goes on, they're going to wear them down.
First down from the 42-yard line of the Cardinals. Rodgers again, this time only a couple. Got near the 40-yard line. I asked Rodgers last night about the comment made by Don Breaux, the running backs coach, that George is a step slower, and he said, well, it didn't bother me too much. He said, hey, I was never a burner. He's, you know, I never thought of myself as an absolute speed type. But he said, I can run fast enough. I just have to get the ball. They all say that, and yeah, understand it. Every running back feels they've got to develop a rhythm. You can't carry it 8, 9 times a game and really crank it up.
And there's Keith Griffin on the sidelines. Now, he's got a strained back, and he won't return. So the injuries continue for the Redskins.
Nearly picked off. Intended for Sanders. Leonard Smith, number 45, knocked it away.
Well, the Redskins are doing everything they can to let the Cardinals back into the ballgame. They've had control. Same position on the field before, threw an interception. Now Schrader just makes a bad throw. I mean, if the ball is thrown behind Ricky Sanders, Leonard Smith picks that off. I'll tell you something. He's gone. That's a 60-plus yarder. Put that one in the bank. They run a little crossing pattern, and he just flat throws the ball bad.
So it leaves 3rd down and 9. The time against the Cardinals. They're down 31-17. They've got to stop the Redskins here and make something happen if they've got any chance to get back in this. Schrader will run it. And it'll It'll be close to the first down. Freddie Joe Nunn tripped him up. Schrader desperately diving for the marker as he was tackled.
That's
close enough to go for it, I would think, if they choose to.
Now, that's how you can tell a team is really not got a lot of confidence in their passing game, is when they call 3rd down and 8s, 3rd down and 9s, quarterback draws. Yes, he wants to keep the clock running. Sure, they want to keep the Cardinal offense off the field, but you still got to be able to complete that pass if you've got any kind of confidence in your passing game. Redskins still struggling offensively. Had it not been for one big catch by Ricky Sanders, 50-plus yard completion, touchdown pass to Gary Clark, their offense still would be struggling.
They've got 4th down and a yard, and Schrader calls timeout. And he will discuss this situation. They do not have the kicking unit on the field, obviously. He's going over to talk to Joe Gibbs. 6:37 remains. Washington 31-17. Well, if you're tired of sitting in traffic jams, and most urban types complain about that frequently, 60 Minutes may have the answer for you tonight on CBS. I don't know what the answer is. I intend to watch myself. Angela Lansbury stars in Murder, She Wrote, following 60 Minutes, and the CBS Sunday movie A Hobo's Christmas with Barnard Hughes and Gerald McRaney. Tonight, following our football activity on CBS. 4th down and a yard after the discussion. Redskins are going for it. The 33-yard line of St. Louis. Schrader will run it. Hit right at the line of scrimmage, but it looks like he has it. Lonnie Young got the lick on him, but they have marked it a 1st down, Washington.
Well, the Redskins deciding that they don't want to take a chance on a handoff. They want the guy who takes the snap from the center to hang on to the ball and let them run with it.
Well, but you're talking about they didn't have confidence in their passing game on the last down. How about not having confidence in your running game on that down?
I'd be honest with you, I don't think they have a lot of confidence in the way the offense has performed. It's just come up with some big plays, but has really not shown much consistency. A fumble by the Cardinals deep in their own end. They get a score in close, a couple of big plays, but nothing really consistent. No play after play after play, pass after pass drives.
They've got a 1st down with 5:44, and Rodgers takes it inside for about 3. But the Redskins are still on the verge of clinching the NFC East despite their spotty play. Look at Indianapolis over Cleveland, and who would believe, you got to count in the strike games, I realize, but Indianapolis 7-5, that's as good a record as Cleveland's. One of the teams that people were talking about as a Super Bowl team, the Browns, at 7-5.
And that trade really made the difference in that football game. Eric Dickerson playing indoors in a very constant climate, I think has given him a running game that is one to be reckoned with.
2nd down and a long 7, we'll call it. There's Rodgers again, grinding it over the 25-yard line to the 24. Anthony Bell made the stop.
Well, looking at that, Houston's going to sneak up on Cleveland and move into a tie. They had, of course, San Diego slipping.
Well, and Pittsburgh is there. They won earlier. They're 7-5. That'll make a 3-way tie in the AFC Central. Crazy season. Rodgers, meanwhile, has quietly approached the 100-yard mark. He's got 95, and he's got the ball again. Trying for the 1st down. It looks like he'll be close, but just short. Nico Noga on the tackle. Nico convinced that his younger brother Al is going to be an outstanding pro. He's a defensive tackle. He's about twice as big as I am. Noga goes 235.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I don't think he has the, his arms aren't twice as big. No. I mean, that man has got a set of biceps on him that just don't quit.
A lot of time in the weight room for Nico, and it's paid off. Now, they stopped him short by about a yard, and that brings out Ali Haji Sheikh. They'll spot the ball at the 30-yard line. 40-yard attempt, Schrader will hold.
Randy Jones doing the snapping.
And it's good. It kind of limped over there, but it crossed the bar and dropped in good for Ali Haji Sheikh. So it is 34-17, and some of those road show Hogettes are celebrating on the far side. Their team is, as though they have done some things in an ugly style today, have virtually clinched the NFC East. Well, now Dallas losing to Atlanta today has pretty much taken themselves out of the wild card situation, and that opens itself up well to the Minnesota Vikings, because the Vikings at 7-4 could still catch Chicago, but if they don't, they're certainly in the driver's seat for the wild card.
Well, they play Chicago this week, so that's going to be an interesting one. San Francisco and, of course, New Orleans. San Francisco has to play the Bears in 2 weeks, so they can't afford to stumble with New Orleans playing as well as they are. You have to look at the divisional wins as well. There's their win today over Green Bay.
So New Orleans and Minnesota, like we said, you've got Minnesota sitting in good shape now, as are the Saints. And St. Louis, well, things don't look too good for them.
Well, Philadelphia losing, of course, against New York. Dallas lost. St. Louis looks like in less than 3 minutes and 43 seconds they can tie this up and take it into overtime. May lose here today. So it looks like your wild card teams may be set. What becomes very important to the Redskins now is home field advantage. They can't afford to lose a game if Chicago continues to win, as well as San Francisco.
Roderick Sargent had a little trouble picking the ball up, but then returned it very well for the Cardinals over the 45 to the 46, where Vernon Dean made the stop.
This happens so often on kick returns. Everything is set up for timing, and when the running back fumbles the ball a little bit, it throws all the lanes off that the cover team has to cover. You see a big pile of people, and he just avoids the pile. Now Ali Hajishik again going to have to make another tackle, almost. Watch out. Don't get hit.
Lomax 18 of 32, 200 yards, but he will need some kind of heroics now with 3:31 on the clock. The short man is Wolfley. Wolfley dropped at the 50-yard line by Mel Kaufman.
The Redskins in what would be deemed a true prevent. Their secondary people back 20 yards plus.
Lomax eludes the rush, unloads complete to Roy Green at the 31-yard line.
They can't back up too fast or too quickly. If they happen to turn the ball over, they can allow the Cardinals to sneak back in, as remote as it may sound.
And that's complete to J.T. Smith inside the 15 to the 14. Well, that turnover on the kickoff early in the second half was the real big play for Washington in this game, and that really turned it around, the two quick touchdowns.
That's right. Interesting thing here, Cardinals call timeout, 2:38 to go in the half. What's going to happen is they use it at this point to try and save the time on the clock. They know they're in throwing range, so they'll run 6, 7, 8 seconds off the clock, try and throw a couple passes. So the most it'll get to is 2:16. If they do score, kick the extra point, kick off, figure that the Redskins will then use the 2-minute warning will be an additional help to them. And if they can hold the Redskins on that first possession, they wind up at the 2-minute warning with the Redskins at second down. Then they can utilize their timeouts to make the clock stop and get them in position to be able to put the ball back in the end zone.
Well, they have had some remarkable late rallies, so who knows if they can figure out the mathematics of the clock as well as you just did.
I bet you're wondering what I said, aren't
you? You had me mesmerized.
I know there are a lot of people out there wondering, what did he say? Very simply, they use this timeout to save a little time on the clock. I think that was a capsule version.
I think that's how you started out with that.
And we'll leave it at that.
From the 14-yard line, Lomax having saved the time on the clock.
That's right.
We'll now have a first down and a chance to make a quick strike here. And Dallas has lost to Atlanta, 21-10.
Got to make Marion Campbell feel good.
Oh, boy. And Scott Campbell, his young quarterback, who scored a touchdown in that game. Lomax pumps once, and now going for Mitchell, who makes a catch, and is he in? No, it's incomplete.
No, it's a touchdown.
Well,
Boy,
that was yes, it's a touchdown, St. Louis.
Yeah, way over in the corner, the official was standing. Remember, all he has to do is have possession as he breaks the goal line, which is the plane.
Well, I thought he was in, but it seemed to me the official was a little slow getting the arms up.
Right next to Neil Lomax on his left side is Stump Mitchell. And he'll come out of the backfield. You see him come out of the backfield and circle around. Now he's one-on-one with the linebacker. Lomax pumps once. Now watch. He makes the catch. He's in the end zone. Touchdown.
Yeah, well, the official is just on the edge of the screen.
Just
Can't see him
outside.
now. Was a little slow getting the arms up, but nonetheless, Mitchell, who has now made 2 tough touchdown catches.
I think what they're going to do is they may review this. I think the officials may review this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they change the decision on this one.
Well, they had to have possession.
That's right, and that's
in
the one
end
thing
zone,
that's going to be
on the
questioned.
ground.
No, even if he breaks the plane in the air, even if he breaks the plane in the air with the ball, it's in the end zone.
Well, I think he's already in the end zone.
Well, right here, see, but does he have possession of the ball? Does he really ever have possession of the ball? That's what they're looking at. He only has to have it for a second. There's the official to the right of your screen making the call.
Well, and he had a long look at that before he put his arms up signaling touchdown. And now we wait as Dixon Holman, the replay official, has a look at it. Well, let's face it, it'd be more fun if they count the touchdown.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm telling you, 2:33 to go. Like I said, the Cardinals call that timeout to save time.
I know Redskin fans that say, hey, we're not looking for fun, we're looking for a win.
That's right. That's exactly right.
If the touchdown counts, it's going to add a little more excitement.
And all 100 people in the stadium are booing. About all.
A lot of these folks have left, and there weren't a lot to begin with today.
It's very eerie to be in a stadium where there are not a lot of people. I got to be perfectly honest with you. It's the crowd really sets a tempo and can get into a game and really make a difference in the outcome. And you just don't have it when there aren't people.
Been a rainy, drizzly day. The Cardinals have had problems with attendance all season long.
This is my problem with the instant replay.
It takes forever.
It takes forever. You get these athletes all warm. It's like taking a racehorse, working it out, and sitting it down for half an hour before it runs the race. I mean, you just can't do it.
Well, let's remember, if it's inconclusive, the play stands.
That's right.
And,
how many times do you have to look at it, and how many angles do you have to look at it? I know, us, of course, doing the broadcast, you don't have that many angles, and the guy's only got 2 monitors up there. And they also know what we're saying, so that's good.
Well, it hasn't had any effect yet, Theismann, I'll tell you that, because they're in no hurry.
Well, I know, but it's just...
Now a final San Francisco over Green Bay. And meanwhile, the Eagles have clawed back against the Giants.
And there's a very important game, New Orleans against Tampa Bay. Of course, Tampa Bay in New Orleans. Tom Benson doing the Benson Boogie. And his football team boogieing right along with him.
Well, you know, I just heard a fan, because you can hear about everything in here, there's so few of them, holler up a little complaint about CBS. And, you know, this has nothing to do with us, as you know.
We want a total disclaimer. We have nothing to do with this.
The officials are looking at the series of replays they have at their disposal.
This is ridiculous.
From the pictures we provide to them, but...
yeah, he's not talking to us on the phone, I can tell you that.
Well, now they say he did not have possession over the goal line, and there is no touchdown.
You think he'll vote for instant replay if they ask the coaches?
Now, Gene Stallings is an unhappy man, as you might expect.
I don't blame him. Not that I'm disputing the reverse of goal. I just think that instant replay. Why have officials with stripes out there? Why don't you just put everybody in a booth upstairs and call it that way? Have one guy on the field with a microphone and referee it from up top.
I haven't changed my feeling about instant replay, which I have expressed here today, but I haven't changed mine from day one.
I have.
I think if the players can make mistakes, which they do, the officials on the field should have the same right to do their best And if they make a mistake, everybody lives with it, just as you do with a fumble or a dropped pass.
It's been a great game for a lot of years under those circumstances.
Leave it to the humans. In any event, second down. In and out of the hands of Wolfley, and will leave third down.
Good pass by Neil Lomax. Just, you know, he's been plagued again. Both quarterbacks have not had their receivers hang onto the ball very well for him this afternoon.
Now, the rain has come again here in the last, for about the last half hour or so in St. Louis. And so the conditions down there are not super, but they're running in dry footballs, trying to keep them that way as much as they can. It'll be third down, just inside the 15-yard line.
Lomax standing on the pitcher's mound. Of course, Busch Stadium, the home of the St. Louis Cardinals.
That one is tipped and knocked away, intended for Green. It was Mel Kaufman, who's had another bat today, knocking the ball away.
Again, we talked about the fact that Lomax has hit a lot of underneath passes, crossing patterns to Green and J.T. Smith, as well as Stump Mitchell coming out of the backfield. So what Kaufman does is he starts a blitz. If his back blocks, he pulls up at the line of scrimmage, reads the quarterback's eyes, and jumps up. The pass is thrown low.
Washington Redskins, as we indicated at the top, and the record would indicate, clearly a better team overall in terms of personnel than St. Louis. But they'll still have some questions to answer, despite having clinched the NFC East. Intended for Troy Johnson, knocked down in the end zone, and that'll be it for the Cardinals. Todd Bowles got a hand on it, and Neil Lomax leaving the field in disgust as he's unhappy at the turn of events and saw the touchdown, what he thought was a touchdown, that Mitchell wiped out.
Well, I feel sorry for the officials. They're out there on the field. They have to put up with all of the guff from the players and the questions from the coach. And it's not really their fault. Those men are trying to do the best job they possibly can. They make a decision, and it's technology that's screwing the whole thing up, not those guys with the striped shirts on.
So the Redskins will have clinched the NFC East in 2 minutes and 18 seconds of playing time, and that's what they've got left. They're at home against Dallas next week. Rodgers stopped at the line of scrimmage by Bob Clasby.
This is part of what I was trying to explain before. If the Cardinals had gotten that score, they come back out now, 2 minutes and 12 seconds. They call a timeout on the field to try and get a possession back. So that's, you know, it doesn't play into the scenario they were hoping for because they didn't get any points on the board.
Now you're in a desperation timeout situation over San Diego. We'll have a three-way tie in the AFC Central.
And more importantly, a lot of people are thinking that Cleveland may be the best team in the AFC, so that's a big plus for Indianapolis.
Seattle lost today, and San Diego was losing, so that whole thing gets tightened up again. And Denver at 7-3-1. That 5-0 mark in the division less significant for the Broncos because they've got that tie on their record.
Yeah, but still, when you win 5, it works out pretty good.
Yeah, you bet. 2nd and 9. And Rodgers running behind the left guard, plows his way. He's over the 100-yard mark today, and that's what he wanted. That's what Gibbs wanted from him. It took some time to crank it up, but he's at 105 yards on 29 carries. 2 minutes to play. Rodgers. Lonnie Young trying to claw the ball away all the way up to the 50-yard line. Spent so much time trying to get the ball that Rodgers was able to keep his feet.
Well, yeah,
this is down at the 49.
This is going to be the best rushing day that George Rodgers has had. Carried the ball 30 times against Buffalo for 125 yards. Now he's, you know, he had 29 carries going in, and with that pickup, he's at 134 yards. That's his best day. That's really what the Redskins have been looking for, is their big back, and he is the big back.
He only had 20 yards in the first half. And at that point, we were saying, hey, the rushing game isn't here for the Redskins. But in the second half, a complete turnabout as the Cardinal defense broke down.
Well, having the Redskins get the lead that they did has allowed them to get back to their running game. They seem to get it late in the games. They haven't gotten it early in the game, so they have an opportunity to be able to sit on the ball.
Cardinals took the timeout here as they have one left. No, they just used up the the last time out.
Joe Gibbs just taking a big, deep breath. Finally, Joe Bugle with a smile on his face on the left side.
Washington should just plan on starting the game in the second half.
Yeah, show up about, if it's a 1 o'clock
halfway
game,
through.
Show up about 2:30,
Right.
and then hope they can, carry it on. I mean, that's really the way they play. That's Chuck Banker. You see, congratulating. There's not a very happy man in Gene Stallings.
You know what I admire about this guy, though, the way he's handling this situation about the St. Louis Cardinals, whether they're going to be here or not next year. You ask him about how it's affected his team. He said, sure, it's a distraction, and people start wondering about selling homes and where they're going to relocate, if they relocate. But he will not point fingers or blame fans for not coming out. He says, hey, it's our job to go out there and entertain them as best we can. Those folks that pay their money and come and see us play. And I think his attitude's been terrific. Of course, hardcore St. Louis fans hope that we'll be watching the Cardinals here next year. And they very well may be. There's been no decision made on the part of the owner, Bill Bidwell, although he is talking to other cities. And we're in the final minute as the Redskins are trying to just use up the rest of this clock, and they have become the NFC East champions. It took them a little while to look like divisional champions in this game, but in the second half, 3 third-quarter touchdowns, and they've just run away from the Cardinals, and they move to 9-3 on the season. Philadelphia in overtime against the Giants, trying to keep their wild card hopes alive. And that one ought to do it. 23 seconds and counting down, and the players start to head for the locker rooms, and Joe Gibbs might not be too thrilled with the look of this game, but finally in the second half, his better and more talented team asserted itself and picked up the victory.
I think the one thing he said last night that stands out and is really an indication of this game, he says this team has played hard but not good. And it was very evident here this afternoon that they have. They played very hard, but again, they have not played real good football. The strongest part of their game is defense at this point. Their special teams are improving, and their offense, I think, is still struggling for some consistency. The Cardinals, on the other hand, continue to move the football, but they get the bad breaks. They make a mistake that puts them in the hole, or they get a drop pass or a bad call, and boom, they wind up losing. There's Alvin Walton. There's a look at that little V, a little mohawk on his head. Tim, you look. Think about that, Timmy. That might be a good look for you.
Well, Joe,
What do you think?
I'll think about that for about a half a second. I just thought about it, and I've rejected it.
Okay, fine.
When you get to my age, you want to keep all the hair you've got, and I intend to do so. So, for Joe Theismann, I'm Tim Ryan saying so long from Busch Stadium in St. Louis. The final score, the Redskins 34 and the Cardinals 17. Stay tuned for the NFL Today post-game show. You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.